Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Marvel Bounty Hunter. Chapter 1. Where is this? Why am I here? Su Zicheng didn't have the headache of a conventional time traveler. He just appeared in this strange room as soon as awakening came. Immediately afterwards, a wave of memories flooded into his mind very smoothly. Everything is clear. I crossed over. Su Zicheng stood up and looked in the mirror. This is a boy with a combination of Chinese and Western appearance. He looks very handsome, and he looks like a killer no matter where he is. Exactly the same. Su Zicheng touched his cheek. His face looks exactly the same as in his previous life. So, did I wear it and suddenly my memory came back to life, or did I wear it as a soul? Originally thought it was soul wear. But after seeing his own face, Su Zicheng was a little uncertain. In fact, he was a mixed race in his previous life. His father was Washa, and his mother was Midi, but the mixed race belongs to the mixed race. During the more than 10 years of his life, he has been in Washa for at least 10 years. Only during some festivals would I go back to Midi to meet my grandpa and grandma. This life seems a little different. Su Zicheng was still a little confused. I don't know what kind of situation my time travel belongs to. Because he actually read a guy named Peter Parker in his memory. Although there is no Iron Man name for the time being, there is a famous playboy named Tony Stark. Is this the Marvel Universe? Beep, the bounty hunter system is on. System. Su Zicheng's spirit was shaken suddenly. Bounty hunter system. Host. Su Zicheng. Physical fitness. 1. Hunter level. D. Ability. None. A bright green panel suddenly appeared in front of Su Zicheng's eyes. Is this a character attribute? What is this hunter level? What does the bounty hunter system do? System. Su Zicheng asked tentatively. Host. I'm here. Call. Su Zicheng heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, although the system is not powerful, it should at least be able to answer his own questions. Then came the question and answer session. Su Zicheng also had a general understanding of the usefulness of this system. As the name suggests, bounty hunter. It's a system that makes him a bounty hunter. And because of the special nature of this system, all the items and abilities that are open in the system mall can be exchanged for money. Definitely, the money has to be his own. Even if it was stolen, definitely, it cannot be said that as long as it is seen, it is his. It must be money that will not worry about future troubles. However, the amount of robbed money that can be used in the system mall will be reduced by 0, that is, robbed 100 million, and only 10 million can be used in the system in the end. This temporarily dissuaded Su Zicheng from grabbing money everywhere he wanted. And Su Zicheng's attention was immediately attracted by the system mall. This. Su Zicheng kept flipping down and gasped. The system mall basically has everything, but there is only one word: expensive. Hunter suit, clothes, pants, shoes, hat, gloves. The price of a single piece is 25,000, and the full set has a discounted price of 120,000. A single piece can defend against attacks from ordinary bullets and foreign objects. After collecting the complete set, the defense increases, the speed increases, increased attack power, additional magic resistance. Fire ability LV.1, the price is 100,000. It can manipulate flames for a short time. If you use it too much, you will fall into a state of mental exhaustion. Infinite gems. The price of a single gem is 1 trillion, and the price of a complete set is 5 trillion. Infinite gems are all on sale. But they are really expensive. And it's all in USD. It's okay if you can buy it directly with money, although it may be regarded as a neuropathy, but take your time. Su Zicheng can directly find S.H.I.E.L.D., produce some certificates, let them give him money, and promote the development of the Earth, occupy the Earth, kill Thanos. Pity. Thinking of the conditions of the system, Su Zicheng couldn't help clicking his tongue slightly. Who knows if he can earn that much money? By the way, system, is there any legendary novice gift package? He suddenly reacted. Wouldn't it be nice to just be a bounty hunter? Su Zicheng is just an ordinary high school student, no matter in his previous life or now. At most he is physically strong and handsome, but to be honest, there is no such thing as force. Be a hunter. It would be nice not to be hunted. Su Zicheng does not seek to reach the sky in one step, as long as he has a starting point. You know, he is very greedy for things in the system mall. It's a pity that there is no money in my pocket, and I cry. Quote. The system over there seemed silent for a while. Ding, the Novice gift pack is distributed. Gift pack for beginners, Absolute Hit LV. 1 Physique Enhancement Potion. Absolute Hit LV.1 You can use any object, use your own power, and accurately hit any place you want to hit within the line of sight. Physical Enhancement Potion. After taking it, physical fitness +1. Later, Su Zicheng rummaged through them all again. Then one thing was discovered. At present, the item with the highest price in the mall, ability, will not exceed the price limit of 10 trillion. Su Zicheng also asked about the reason for the system. The system's answer is that the host's current level is too low, and he can only know about these commodities. Moreover, if he wants to buy better things, he should not use this kind of money, but a higher level of money. Su Zicheng probably understood. It may be that those items that are too powerful or difficult to measure with the current money on the earth. It's just too expensive, hundreds of trillions to tens of trillions, and the sum of money on the entire planet of the earth may not be worth it. Although it is difficult to measure the ability in the mall at present. Inside the Queen's High School cafeteria. Peter Parker, a freshman in high school, sat in a corner with a plate and ate. However, even when he was eating, his eyes were always focused on a Michelle Jones with slightly darker skin and side curly hair not far away, that is, MJ. It seems that as long as you look at MJ, you can taste better when you eat. However, as soon as Peter picked up the sandwich in his hand, he found an annoying tall figure sitting directly opposite MJ with a plate. MJ didn't mean to take any precautions, but looked very welcoming instead. Peter was sour, but he didn't dare to say anything. Now he hasn't been bitten by a spider, he is just a thin high school student. And what about that man? This guy's name is Tom Holland. Good looking, mainly tall and strong. The most important thing is, he likes MJ very much. Usually, because I know why Peter also likes MJ, I will go to Peter to trouble him from time to time. If there is no accident, Peter will be beaten up severely. As a result, Peter now has a psychological shadow on Tom Holland. And Tom Holland, who was chatting happily with MJ, seemed to have noticed Peter's eyes. He took the opportunity to give Peter a smug look back and clenched his fists. Then turn around in seconds and continue chatting with MJ. Peter was threatened brutally, he squeezed the sandwich tightly, and bit down viciously. He is very dissatisfied. At this time, a breeze blew by, and there was another person beside Peter. Peter, do you want to beat that guy up? Peter looked over. It was Su Zicheng who came. Zicheng, I definitely thought about it. Peter shrugged helplessly when he heard this, and sighed, but I can't beat him, that guy is too strong. I'll beat him up for you. Su Zicheng said with a grin. Really? Peter's eyes lit up. Su Zicheng's physique is about the same as that of Tom Holland. If you want to beat him, then there may be hope. 50 yuan. Su Zicheng raised his eyebrows, and stretched out 2 fingers. Professional agent, I will take all the responsibilities. 50. Peter was slightly taken aback, his face a bit embarrassed. Can it be cheaper? He is not a wealthy family either. Peter. Su Zicheng patted Peter's shoulder earnestly. I will be responsible for everything. If the teacher catches me, what do you think will happen to me? Besides, after beating up that guy, he will definitely not dare to approach MJ. When the time comes it's not. 50 yuan is not much. Say yes. Say yes. Su Zicheng really wants to say, I am a bounty hunter, 50 yuan is already very little, okay. But if I say this, I am afraid that people will be regarded as crazy. Forget it. In short, the most important thing is to complete the first order quickly, otherwise. Quote. Peter was still in hesitation. But at this moment, Tom Holland turned his head again, swaggered his fist in the air, and made a few mouth shapes, as if he was going to beat him up later. With this stubble, he glanced at MJ and thought of what Su Cheng said. Peter made up his mind instantly. Okay, deal. Su Cheng rubbed his fingers, looking like a money fan. Money first, then work. Peter struggled to take out 50 rice gold from his pocket. Su Zicheng snatched the money, stuffed it into his pocket, and stood up. Thank you for your patronage. Looking at Su Cheng's back, Peter suddenly felt distressed. 50 yuan, that was his food money for several days. But when he thought that Tom Holland would be severely beaten and would not dare to approach MJ, he felt very comfortable. Peter waited to see the play. Su Zicheng is also in a good mood. Finally found the first order. Although he said that he forcibly pulled it. Alas, what about the bounty hunter you agreed to? Why do you want to be so aggressive? However, although there is a little complaint in my heart. But Su Zicheng didn't say anything, because this is what he wants to do. After obtaining the 2 abilities of the Novice gift pack, the system releases a task. Complete the first order within 3 days, and the absolute hit and physique potions will be completely and permanently belong to Su Zicheng. If the first order is not received within 3 days, then the ability will be withdrawn. This is also the reason why Su Zicheng tried to solicit customers forcibly, and sold it for only 50 yuan. He doesn't have any awesome equipment in his hand. There is no way out for the time being. It is simply impossible to pick up the task within 3 days. So it had to be like this. Probably a bounty hunter. The corners of Su Zicheng's mouth twitched, comforting himself in his heart. He swore that this was the first and last time he would sell for 50 yuan. Hey, after Su Zicheng left his seat, he went straight to Tom Holland's side and patted him on the shoulder. Tom Holland frowned, stood up very dissatisfied, and asked in a bad tone, "What are you doing?" He was having a good time chatting with MJ. Naturally, I was very upset to be interrupted suddenly. I'm going to beat you up now. Su Zicheng looked at him and said seriously. Peter, who had been paying attention to the situation here, suddenly covered his eyes. He began to wonder if his 50 yuan was going to be wasted. Peter doesn't fight very often. But he also understands. Under the same hardware conditions, the surprise attack is the easiest to win when the opponent has no defense. There's going to be a fight. Like Su Zicheng, there are really few people who just walked over and said I will beat you up, and they are very, very, very rare. The rarity is comparable to red wine with garlic. And except for Peter, the bustling students nearby also noticed the situation here. No one stopped them either. Instead, they watched with great interest. There are even many men who are shouting to fight. After all, the first year of high school is the second year of middle school when hormones explode and vent countless times. If someone wants to fight, let alone let them hinder it, it is good not to boo. What? Tom Holland couldn't believe his ears and almost laughed out loud. He purposely put his hand in the shape of a trumpet by his ear, and said contemptuously, "What did you say?" "Say it again." "I said, I'm going to beat you up." Su Zicheng repeated it again seriously. Then he reached into the inner pocket of his chest clothes. However, what he didn't expect was, this action actually made Tom Holland vigilant, and stepped back again and again. "What are you going to do?" His hand was already quietly on the chair behind him. Free America, shootouts every day. Even in high school, it is not uncommon for people to be injured with weapons or even guns. Although Tom Holland is fierce, it doesn't mean he is a fool. What if Su Zicheng took out a gun from his pocket? Although the odds are slim. But don't be afraid of 10,000, just in case. Tom Holland felt that it was better to be more vigilant. When the people around saw this situation, they also rioted and moved away from the battlefield, one after another. At this time, Peter, who was on the side, also took this opportunity to run to MJ's side, grabbed MJ's hand, and pulled MJ aside. This is the first time Peter held MJ's hand. So, Peter is cool. He already felt that even if Su Zicheng didn't beat Tom Holland hard, the 50 yuan was worth it. I've already said that I'm going to beat you up. It's normal to ask it once, it's okay to ask it twice, and it's okay to ask it 3 times. Are you mentally retarded? Under the eyes of everyone, Su Zicheng. He took out a alloy slingshot from his pocket. Then I took a few marbles and wandered around in my hand. Anyone with a discerning eye could see what he was going to do. Tom Holland looked at the slingshot in Su Zicheng's hand. He didn't care about Su Zicheng's words at all. Suddenly burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, slingshot, you're going to hit me with a slingshot. Little guy, you are looking for a beating, do you know that? Tom Holland felt that there was no need to be angry with Su Zicheng. The only thing he needed to do was to beat him up and teach him how to be a good grandson. After a laugh, he showed his white teeth, clenched his fists viciously, and picked up the chair next to him, aggressively. Tisk! Su Zicheng hit it, Hit it. Pull the slingshot open in full. Aim at Tom Holland casually. Are you looking down on the slingshot? Let go. Call out. Everyone saw only a white shadow flashing past, hitting Tom Holland's tiger's mouth with a swoosh. Ah! A cry of pain sounded. Tom Holland suffered from pain. His entire right arm went numb, his fingers loosened uncontrollably, and the chair fell to the ground. His left hand was tightly clutching his right hand, unable to speak due to the pain. Su Zicheng is very satisfied. He definitely did it on purpose. At the tiger's mouth, it hurts even if you pinch it, and your hand will feel numb if you apply a little force. Being hit by marbles is so sour, tisk tisk. However, satisfaction is satisfaction. Su Zicheng didn't mean to stop. The order he took was to give Tom Holland a fat beating. Is this called a fat beating? Not called. Leisurely took out a marble. Fill the slingshot. Call out. Poor Tom Holland still hasn't recovered. The marble hit him hard on the nose once. The pain came. What? Nosebleeds gushed out in an instant. Tears kept streaming down. Tom Holland wanted to cover his nose. However, the hand just stretched out. Another marble flew by. Ah! He retracted his hand in an instant, covering his abdomen in pain. Next, it was time for Su Zicheng to perform alone. With a slingshot in one hand, you can shoot wherever you point. Left shoulder, right shoulder, and a small arm. I play. As long as it is within the reach of the eye, it will hit 100 shots. This is the horror of absolute hit LV.1. In fact, with Su Zicheng's current physique of 2, he can completely hang this guy up and beat him. But how can it be fun to play with a slingshot? And he just got the absolute hit skill, although it's only LV.1, his hands are itchy. Poor Tom Holland was completely reduced to Su Zicheng's toy target. What? The severe pain made him unable to resist any thoughts, and Tom Holland wanted to escape. But the marble immediately hit his left big toe. It's like being stepped on by an elephant. Tom Holland's body tilted instantly, and he fell to the ground with a plop. Ah, I was wrong. Stop hitting me, please. Next, this 1.8-meter tall man lay on the ground and started crying. Crying is called miserable, and that is called heart-piercing. Tears and snot mixed together. The contrast with his physique is simply not too great. Su Zicheng stopped the slingshot, touching his nose awkwardly. Beat him like this. It's poor, I can't bear to do it. However, Su Zicheng just thought about it, he didn't feel any pity for this guy. First of all, he is a bounty hunter with no emotion. Secondly, although he hid it well in front of MJ, Tom Holland is a perpetrator of school violence, and the pain he feels today is all caused by him. Su Zicheng took out the slingshot again and fully drew the bowstring. Get ready to give Tom Holland the final blow and get him to sleep. And Tom Holland, who was lying on the ground crying, saw this scene. After sucking in a breath of fear, he rolled his eyes and fell into a coma. The corners of Su Zicheng's mouth twitched. I had no choice but to take the marbles back in embarrassment. He's all passed out, so we can't wake him up and give him another shot to make him pass out again, right? Ding! The first task is completed. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the absolute hit and the permanent use of physical enhancement potions. Listen to the task completion notification sound in your head. Su Zicheng breathed a sigh of relief. It's finally done. He's in a much better mood. He waved his slingshot at Peter, who was staring blankly not far away. Mission complete, go eat something. Su Zicheng's action directly exposed that Peter asked him to beat up Tom Holland. Maybe others don't know, but MJ saw Su Zicheng's actions clearly. He glanced at Peter in surprise. Ahem. Peter coughed in embarrassment, and scolded Su Zicheng countless times in his heart. Su Zicheng really went to eat. It's just going from the East Canteen to the West Canteen. After all, the East Dining Hall is a bit of a mess right now, and Tom Holland is passing out there. It's noon, people are iron rice or steel, and they will be hungry if they don't eat a meal, especially his physique is stronger than ordinary people, so relatively speaking, the nutrition to support his physique is naturally much more. Su Zicheng had a good meal. The food in the cafeteria is still cheap, but it is not very delicious. The chicken is artificial, and there is no meaty taste. Go to a Chinese restaurant another day. Su Zicheng had just cleaned up all the food on the table. The teacher came to the door. At this time, everyone understands why the teacher came to the door. But Su Zicheng didn't panic at all. Because the place where his slingshot hits is very particular, at most it will hurt that guy Tom Holland. If there is any injury, it will not be at all. And it turns out that's true. The teacher is a middle-aged man with a beard. His attitude towards Su Zicheng is not bad, which also confirms Su Zicheng's thoughts. The fight just now did not cause any substantial damage to Tom Holland. The teacher talked with Su Zicheng for a while. It probably means to ask Su Zicheng to send something to the infirmary later. Definitely, it's just persuasion, verbal talk. There is no intention of punishing Su Zicheng at all. Su Zicheng promised, but complained in his heart. How annoying is Tom Holland, even the teacher doesn't like him. Seeing Su Zicheng's appearance, the teacher also saw that Su Zicheng didn't care about these things at all, and left after saying a few words. Tom Holland was a bad student. Su Zicheng is usually very popular in school because he is handsome and studies well. Teachers and classmates like him very much. So this time, the teachers and classmates were more inclined to provoke Su Zicheng by Tom Holland, and then he was beaten by Su Zicheng. After afternoon classes, Su Zicheng returned home. This is a villa. In this world, his parents are both dead and he has no relatives. Fortunately, his parents left him a small villa, a car, and some deposits. The deposit is about 300,000 knives. Enough to get him to live until he graduates from college and starts working. Su Zicheng didn't feel much about it. Because he doesn't have any relationship foundation with his parents in this world. The only pity is that the 300,000 knives cannot be used in the system mall, otherwise, let alone invincibility, at least upgrade the absolute hit skill to LV.2. During class in the afternoon, Su Zicheng studied absolute hit. I probably know the concept of absolutely hitting the first two levels. For LV.1, wherever you look, as long as you use your own strength to throw or shoot objects, you will be hit with 100 hits. What does self-power mean here? Such as bows and arrows, slingshots, or throwing weapons. But firearms are different. Firearms use the power of pistols. Su Zicheng's own strength does not touch the bullets, so firearms are useless to Su Zicheng at present. At present, Su Zicheng's strength, in terms of shooting ability, is definitely the peak of human beings, a little bit stronger than Hawkeye. And if LV.1 is still in the normal range, LV.2 belongs to the category of super ability. As long as you use your own strength, regardless of the power and file size, as long as it is launched, it will hit the target regardless of anything. At this stage, it is not limited to the place where the eyes can see. What does it mean? Even if Su Zicheng is just flicked lightly, it only travels 1 meter in a minute, even if it does not conform to physics at all, it will hit the target. Shoot an arrow at the sun and it will hit the one. Definitely, it's not without its flaws. The only flaw is that if the force bearer, such as a bow and arrow, receives a fatal blow, it will be interrupted. Where is the critical point of this fatal blow? Su Zicheng also does not understand. Because currently he is only LV.1, and can only know some information about LV.2. As for LV.3, forget it, he doesn't deserve to know. Su Zicheng sighed. Although other abilities are awesome. But it doesn't stop him yearning for LV.2 in the slightest. What a pity. It takes a whole $1 million to upgrade absolute hit from LV.1 to LV.2. It's not enough to sell him as a whole. Su Zicheng glanced at his balance. That's $6,050. 6,000 is the startup capital given by the system. Well, it was originally only 5,000, but under Su Zicheng's argument, the system added 1,000 to the second floor, and the remaining 50 was naturally earned from Peter. It's too hard for me. Su Zicheng could only force himself not to think about those things. Come on and make money. Look through the system mall. Su Zicheng suddenly discovered a deeply hidden area. Preferential area. It is indeed hidden deep. If you want to turn over the product to the end, it will only appear in the bottom line of introduction. Su Zicheng very much suspected that the cheating system was done on purpose, and he didn't want to let himself know where the discount area was. Fortunately, be careful, otherwise, I don't know how much money I will lose. Su Zicheng clicked on the discount area. And then I discovered a very cheating thing. That is, there are only 2 discount items in the discount area. Hunter Suit, Physical Enhancement Potion, and with less than 3 hours left, the discount will be cancelled. Hunter Set, the original price is 120,000, the current price is only 50,000, discounts, price cuts, great benefits, surprises, genuine discounts, buy as soon as possible. Physique Enhancement Potion, the original price is 30,000, the current price is only 10,000, if you want to buy it, hurry up. All of them were marked with slogans, as if they were trying to seduce Su Zicheng. Su Zicheng is jealous. Looking at these 2 items in the discount area, his saliva was about to flow down. This discount is really conscientious, one is cut in half, and the other is only 1/3 of the money. Perks are a good thing. But, Su Zicheng glanced at his balance. A wretched 6,050. Even if it is cut in half, he can't afford it at all. Seeing that the preferential time has changed from 3 hours to 2 hours. Su Zicheng finally couldn't sit still. System, can you give me a discount? He found the system pitifully. You said that I am a newcomer, can't I have a discount for newcomers? Quote. Yes, the host. The system seemed to be unable to stand his boring words, and replied. Huh, really? Now it was Su Zicheng's turn to be stunned. Because he was just talking casually, without any hope. Unexpectedly, it actually did. Yes, the host, you are considered a novice hunter within 1 month after becoming a hunter. Within this month, there are 3 discounts for newcomers. Su Zicheng was pleasantly surprised that the system still has this function. How much discount? 1 off. I rely on. Su Zicheng almost suffocated. 10% off. Doesn't that mean that he can buy 2 things in the preferential area? Wait, Su Zicheng suddenly came back to his senses, and suddenly remembered a question. The discount for newcomers within a month, the system, are you going to tell me? Well, no, it's just that you didn't ask. The system felt a little guilty. Pit dad, cheat dad. I was almost cheated by the dog system. Su Zicheng was glad that he asked casually just now, otherwise, he would most likely be focused on saving money and would not buy anything in the mall for a month. This will cause, the discount for newcomers will be invalidated. Okay, I'm going to buy it now. Su Zicheng's eyes sparkled. After rubbing his hands together, he directly and decisively chose to buy the hunter suit. Do you want to use the discount for newcomers? Whether, use. The value is 5,000 after the discount. Pay. Looking at the 4 big characters of successful purchase in front of him, Su Zicheng smiled cheerfully. But it didn't stop. Instead, he turned around and bought a physical enhancement potion. It is worth 1,000 after the discount. After buying these 2 items, Su Zicheng only has 50 yuan left. Randomly limited a range of money in the mall, thinking about buying a bow or something, but found something. Underground trading place admission ticket, it is worth 50, can guide the host to the underground trading place, and can be turned into a proof of identity for any underground trading place. I lost it. Su Zicheng was startled. Isn't this ability too strong? There are only 50. He extremely suspected that the price was reduced by a few zeros when the system was put on the shelves. In order to prevent the system from wanting to default, Su Zicheng bought it directly. This thing is really too important to him at present. Definitely, he'd be an idiot for not taking advantage of the 10% discount on this $50 item. After buying the coupon, his account balance returned to 0 smoothly. Although he spent all his money and used the 10% discount twice, Su Zicheng was very satisfied. If possible, he also wants to put the 10% discount on those things that can easily cost trillions, but unfortunately he can't afford that kind of thing even with a 10% discount. Everything he buys now is very useful to him at this stage. Although I feel a little bit that the system is deliberately cheating all my money like this. But if this is the case, he only has 1 sentence. Please let the system cheat me a few more times. Satisfied, Su Zicheng took out the physical enhancement potion. Drink it in 1 gulp. The physical enhancement medicine in the preferential area is different from the novice gift pack. As mentioned in the introduction, the effect is stronger. Drink the potion of physical enhancement. Feeling the surging power in his body, Su Zicheng opened his personal panel. Bounty Hunter System. Host. Su Zicheng. Physical fitness, 5. Hunter level, D. Ability, absolute hit LV.1. Physical fitness increased by 3. More than doubled. Su Zicheng was pleasantly surprised. Definitely, this does not mean that his strength has only doubled. You must know that the current absolute hit still relies on his own strength. The stronger he is, the stronger the absolute hit will be. That's the reason. Accurate. But if the speed and strength are not enough, Deadman cannot be killed, and even a slightly stronger, normal person, such as Captain America, is likely to grab the arrow shot by Su Zicheng and block it. But now it is different. Su Zicheng's physical fitness has been increased, which is 5 times that of ordinary people. Although it is still worse than Captain America, strength alone, regardless of combat skills or absolute hit skills, is enough. Have the strength to fight. Not to mention the bounty hunter equipment. Su Zicheng took out the bounty hunter suit. Same as described. Clothes, trousers, shoes, hats, gloves, a total of 5 pieces. The main tone is a black trench coat. The appearance is handsome and simple. There is a sense of mystery just by looking at it. Is the hat actually in the form of a hood? A few lines of black lines appeared on Su Zicheng's forehead. You can still sell the hood and the clothes separately. What kind of cheat are you? But one thing to say, this suit is really handsome, which fits the 4 words of bounty hunter very well. When Su Zicheng saw it, he couldn't put it down. Oh, this color. Oh, this fabric. Ness. Su Zicheng put the suit on after he got tired of crooked for a while. It has to be said that the set bonus is strong. As soon as Su Zicheng put it on, his whole temperament changed, from a sunny boy to a gloomy bounty hunter. And Su Zicheng also felt it. His strength, speed, and even dynamic vision have been greatly increased. And the clothes seemed to be bulletproof. There was no gun in the house either. Su Zicheng went to find a knife, first cut it, and then slashed his chest very hard. His physique is originally 5 times that of ordinary people, plus the power increase of the hunter suit. What is the concept of very strong? It can definitely blow a person's head off with ease. It is definitely not much weaker than the destructive power of bullets. However, that's the attack, the clothes don't do any damage. The knife broke directly. Su Zicheng himself didn't feel any pain, he just felt the same strength as the massage on the attacked place. This is not the reason why the hunter suit has reached its limit, but it is specially set so that he will not know that someone wearing a hunter suit is attacking him. These are very obvious additions that can be felt. If the front is weaker than Captain America. So if Su Zicheng fights against Captain America now, it can be said to be a sling, especially the exaggerated defense. It is a bit difficult for Captain America to break the defense. This bonus is really not an exaggeration. Perhaps it is not worth mentioning in Marvel, but for his early stage, it is definitely a very scary equipment. Su Zicheng is very glad that he bought this suit. Not to mention that it only cost 5,000, even the original price of 120,000 is definitely worth it. I've tried everything I need to try, but the introduction of the hunter suit still has magic resistance. I don't know how to try it. After thinking about it for a long time, I can't find a way. I can't go to Kamar Taj and let Ancient One beat me up, right? Take off the hunter suit and put it in the space of the system store. Su Zicheng took out the 3rd thing he bought tonight. This is a seemingly ordinary admission ticket. However, as soon as he got it in his hands, Su Zicheng felt that it was extraordinary. Just take it. His mind will center on himself, and some red dots will appear. Red dots represent well-known underground trading places. The thicker the red dot, the bigger and more terrifying this underground trading place is. Ordinary garbage cannot enter this coupon. There are 3 red dots in New York City. Su Zicheng sighed. I really don't understand why such a good thing is only worth 50. Host, only you will think this is a good thing, and people with a little knowledge will not spend the 50 on it. The system hit him without hesitation. Su Zicheng's face froze. Although what the system said was the truth, people are hard to break. I couldn't put it down and played this hunter suit and underground exchange ticket until midnight. Su Zicheng then fell into a deep sleep. Nobody knows. Just tonight, a bounty hunter officially started. The next morning, Su Zicheng came to school with a backpack on his back. But even though he was in class, Su Zicheng seemed a little absent-minded, holding the underground trading place admission ticket in his hand and looking very hesitant. He is deliberating which trading place is better to go to. He has never been to these 3 red dots. The bigger the red light, the bigger the underground trading place, and the smaller it is, the smaller it is. Small ones don't necessarily have their favorite tasks. Big ones can be dangerous. Su Zicheng said he was a bounty hunter, but he was actually just a high school student. One morning passed. Biting his nails, Su Zicheng suddenly turned hard. If we want to pick up, we will take on big tasks, and if we want to go, we will go to big trading places. With my current strength, why can't I go to these places? In the afternoon, Su Zicheng asked the school teacher to take a long vacation. By the way, he also said goodbye to little Spider-Man. If he can find the task he likes, then next time he comes back, little Spider-Man may have become that good neighbor in New York. The reason for taking a long vacation is also very simple. Su Zicheng is of Huami mixed race. Although he is an orphan, many people think that he has relatives in the faraway land, and the teacher is no exception. So Su Zicheng simply said that it would take a month for him to go back to *** to see his grandparents. The United States pursued a happy education before going to university. Although it was a bit outrageous for a month, the teachers of the Academic Affairs Office gave Su Zicheng approval because of the death of Su Zicheng's parents. Su Zicheng actually doesn't know how long he will be out for this trip. It may be a week, it may be 2 weeks, or he may be back in a few days. After all, the task has not been accepted yet. In the afternoon and evening, Su Zicheng stayed at home to rest. Keep your spirits up. He didn't wake up until early in the morning, when there were basically not many people on the side of the road. Putting on the hunter suit, hiding his immature face under the shadow of the hood, Su Zicheng tightened his collar and jumped out of the house. Bounty hunters are like street rats. Su Zicheng complained while avoiding the occasional 1 or 2 drunk pedestrians passing by. Bounty hunter, what a compelling 4 words, why is it a completely different thing to me? Forget it. Anyway, bounty hunter originally is not a profession that can exist in the sun above board. Walking on the dark road, Su Zicheng walked towards the biggest red dot according to the map in his mind. The distance to the red dot is getting closer and closer. Su Zicheng also came to a narrow alley. Surrounded by sacks of rubbish with all sorts of things in them, just looking at them is disgusting. Su Zicheng curled his lips in disgust. If it wasn't for the hunter suit with a function similar to purifying the air, he might be able to spit it out on the spot. It's too disgusting. Seriously, why does the underground trading place always have to be in this kind of place? Su Zicheng took the black card-shaped entrance ticket to underground trading place and slid it against a small iron door next to him. Drop. The small iron door swung open. After another small alley, a door was pushed open, and a place similar to a bar came into Su Zicheng's eyes. This place is different from the deserted outside. Many people of all colors gathered together, drinking loudly, or discussing some ulterior things in low voices. Su Zicheng observed all this calmly. It looks like an ordinary bar, but he understands that everyone here probably has more than 5 lives on their hands, and they are all well-trained killers and thugs. Although Su Zicheng was wearing a hunter's suit, he didn't attract the attention of others. At most, he just glanced at it and did what he had to do. This place is full of fish and dragons, and his clothes are not normal but normal. There are no friends here, so Su Zicheng came directly to the mission. At the same time, I also saw a reward task. Hunting Tony Stark, bounty, $*$. Su Zicheng squinted his eyes. A full 10 million USD. It also firmly occupies the number 1 position in this underground trading place. However, this task has obviously existed here for a long time, otherwise, other people would definitely be surprised instead of being as casual as they are now. After all, who is Tony Stark? The ultimate rich man whose worth is unknown. Hunt him down. Which stupid task. Moreover, Tony's identity is not just a simple rich man, regardless of whether he is a scientist or not. His father, the founder of S.H.I.E.L.D., is a super tycoon. There are people on it who dare to hunt him down. Don't die. If it is really possible to hunt, let alone 10 million, it is 100 million or even 1 billion. I believe many people are willing to give it. Taking 10,000 steps back, if he has the ability to hunt and kill Tony Stark, what is the lack of $10 million? Finding Tony to blackmail a wave, isn't it more fragrant than 10 million? Su Zicheng squinted his eyes. To be honest, he was moved. Su Zicheng didn't care who took the mission, who wanted to kill Tony Stark, and there was no need to know, as long as he could get the reward for the mission. Besides, he does tasks differently from other people. Originally, he does not do tasks for money, but to complete tasks, because only when tasks are completed can the money be counted into the system, and direct blackmail will not be counted. Moreover, he also has the confidence to hunt Tony Stark and complete the task. It's not that he's just going to Tony Stark like that, but he has a fair amount of confidence in the information he has. Recently, there is news that Tony Stark seems to be missing. The plot seems to have begun, right? It is a good opportunity. If you usually go to Tony, even if you can kill him, S.H.I.E.L.D. will definitely find the cobweb horse trail, but if it develops according to the plot, it is not necessarily so. Wouldn't it be nice to blame the terrorist who kidnapped Tony? Even if S.H.I.E.L.D. really finds him, he might be upgraded to an ABCD level hunter in the future. At that time, S.H.I.E.L.D. without the Avengers Alliance will not pose any threat to him. However, compared with Tony Stark's worth, 10 million seems a bit less. But there is no way, Su Zicheng has no other way, he can only be karma, should he go to those people and tell them that he can kill Tony Stark. Let's not talk about whether he will be mentally ill on the spot. Even if he tried to find those people, he couldn't find them. Let's take this task honestly. Su Zicheng left after taking over the task of hunting Tony Stark. And after he left, no one in the bar noticed that someone had accepted the task that hung high on the task bar. Is there really someone who dares to take it? After the first few took over, they never appeared again. I don't know which fool took over this time. Tisk tisk, another idiot. Su Zicheng did not leave the underground trading place directly. This underground trading place is not limited to such dirty transactions as rewarding heads, there are many things that can be bought here. For example, for items such as ammunition and firearms, ordinary pistols can be purchased directly from others. Although more powerful weapons are not in stock, you can basically find corresponding channels to buy them here. Su Zicheng is definitely not here to buy a gun. As I said before, the pistol is useless to him, it definitely hits LV.1, and it has no buff effect on things that don't belong to his strength. In other words, even if he got the gun, how bad his aim was before, and how bad it is now. To him, holding a gun is not as practical as holding a fire stick. At least throwing the fire stick can get the blessing of absolute hit, which is much more aggressive than a gun. Therefore, the main reason he hasn't left yet is because of custom bows. The bows and arrows sold outside are all produced on the assembly line. It's okay to beat one or two little guys at ordinary times, but if you really want to fight against terrorists, you are really beyond your control. Su Zicheng is not a fool. But to be honest, people who come to this kind of place to order bows and arrows are still a little strange, at least the people who communicated with Su Zicheng saw him in a different way. Mysterious, what kind of bow and arrow are you here for? Doubt he came to have fun. But in the end nothing was said. If you have money, let alone a ghost, you can do anything. Su Zicheng directly stated that he would pay 200,000 yuan to make things with your highest standards. 200,000 knives is a lot, which is 2/3 of Su Zicheng's current deposit of 300,000, which is about 1.45 million when converted into soft sister coins. Order a bow. The man's eyes lit up. So much money to make custom-made bows and arrows, he can eat a lot of oil and water, who would not do such a good thing? Not all the people in the underground trading place are killers, there are also many artisans. They don't do the job of licking blood, so they earn much less money. For $200,000, it is true to order a bow and arrow. Not a small amount. After Su Zicheng paid the deposit, he agreed and asked Su Zicheng to get the finished product in 3 days. Su Zicheng nodded, picked a bow that looked good, and left the underground trading place. Since it was a custom-made bow, he naturally didn't come here for the purpose of getting the bow and arrow directly. Just take a handful and use it as a practice. And the man naturally had no objection, and let him leave cheerfully. After all, Su Zicheng paid the money. From the look in his eyes, maybe a woman who works in that field will suffer tonight. This guy can't tell that he is a fake character based on his physique. Next 3 days, Su Zicheng bought some instant food and cooked food, and kept familiarizing himself with his own strength and the ability to absolutely hit without leaving home. Just 3 days, Su Zicheng has practiced a brand new bow and arrow to the point of being useless. In order to kill Tony Stark, he can be said to have made sufficient preparations to ensure that nothing goes wrong. He wasn't kidding. The current Tony is not the Iron Man of the future, just a smart playboy. Why can't he kill him? Su Zicheng won't be the same as those sleazy protagonists. Bala Bala licks Tony. Isn't money better than Tony? Money is everything. He doesn't care if the so-called will spoil the plot. Even if it is destroyed. So what? There is one less Iron Man, one more him. He still doesn't believe that he with the system will be worse than Iron Man. The Earth is guarded by me. Funny. With that 10 million, I can hang purple sweet potatoes with one hand, believe it or not. The night of the 3rd day, Su Zicheng put on that hunter suit again. However, compared to the greenness and discomfort 3 days ago, Su Zicheng's control over the hunter suit is obviously more than one level higher. During these 3 days, Su Zicheng was not only familiar with the power and ability he could control, but also took some time to familiarize himself with and control the power amplified by the hunter suit. During this time, Su Zicheng also had a preliminary concept of the hunter suit. He puts on the hunter suit and takes off the hunter suit, totally 2 people. The hunter suit is also one of his confidence to hunt Tony. This time compared to last time, Su Zicheng became more familiar with the location of the underground trading place. Along the way, I also learned from my neighbor Little Spider-Man, who tried to run parkour on the side of the road, copying all the shortcuts in the shortcuts. Therefore, Su Zicheng quickly reached the underground trading place. Just like last time, he made no other moves and went directly to get his custom-made bow and arrow. The person in charge was quite reliable, and after seeing Su Zicheng coming, he handed over the customized bow and arrow to Su Zicheng. This bow looks very handsome, kind of like a recurve bow, but it's not. As for the specific material used to make it, Su Zicheng doesn't know. He has no knowledge of this. But if you want to determine whether this is what you want, there is a way. Su Zicheng glanced at the smiling person in charge, grabbed the bowstring, and yanked it hard. Under his tremendous strength, the bow and arrow were drawn to the full string. The person in charge froze for a moment, laughing until they huddled together changed their expressions. I rely on. If others don't know, how can he not know? This bow is made of the toughest, strongest, and most material that can be used except military secrets. If you want to pull the string, you need at least 1 or 2 stones. I don't know how much stone power. Is this guy a Hercules? The corner of the person in charge's mouth twitched. Ignoring the shock in the person in charge, Su Zicheng was very satisfied with the bow. Although he didn't use his maximum strength, he still used 4 to 5 tenths. With the increase of the hunter suit, there are not many bows that can support Su Zicheng's strength. And the toughness of the bow is very strong, which is very suitable for him. It can prove that this guy still has his heart on it. Su Zicheng nodded. After being shocked for a moment, the person in charge arranged other things for him. After all, 200,000 knives, how could it be possible to make a bow? Bow and arrow, if there is a bow, there must be arrows. Without arrows, the bow is only a large slingshot, and it is still a slingshot that is not easy to shoot. The person in charge helped Su Zicheng make 120 special arrows, which probably filled several quivers. This kind of special arrow is much sharper than the arrows outside, and the material is also stronger. It is used in actual combat with real guns. Su Zicheng is very satisfied. $200,000 is worth it. Probably, the quality of the item is very good, exactly as described by the seller. Very satisfied, I really like it, completely exceeded expectations, the delivery speed is very fast, the packaging is very careful and tight, the logistics company has a good service attitude, and the delivery speed is very fast, very satisfied with the shopping. After putting away the things, Su Zicheng left. He decided to take all these arrows with him. This is not troublesome. After all, the system has specially equipped him with a hunter space. Although it is a bit small compared to the hundreds of cubic meters in those novels, it is more than enough to perfectly put down the hunter suit, bow, and arrows. In addition, Su Zicheng also prepared a few flying darts and put them in the hunter space in case of emergency. Chapter 11. After returning home, Su Zicheng familiarized himself with the bow he just got. This bow is very suitable for use now, very suitable for hunters at his stage. Familiar with half the night, Su Zicheng directly booked a direct flight to the Middle East tomorrow, and then went to sleep. Everything he arranged was in order, and there was no room for any miscalculations. The next morning, Su Zicheng threw the hunter's suit, bow, and 100 arrows into the hunter's space, simply packed up, and headed to the airport as if he was about to go on a long trip. Su Zicheng tried his best to pretend to be relaxed, as if he was going on a trip. Although it is still a bit strange to travel to the Middle East. Get on the plane. This is going to the Middle East. Su Zicheng looked at the white clouds drifting by outside the window, calm on the surface, but turbulent in his heart. After all, strictly speaking, this was his first mission. And it's a highly dangerous move. I was a little nervous when I thought that I would face the terrorists soon. But nervousness is nervous, but there is not much fear. Su Zicheng's character is doomed that he will not do that kind of stupid thing that he is not sure of. As long as it is a task, he can either complete it 100% or it is enough to ensure his safety. The hunter suit is Su Zicheng's confidence in this mission. The turmoil will eventually subside. Su Zicheng soon fell asleep. There was no one I knew on the plane, and it was very boring. Apart from watching movies and TV shows, there were no other entertainment items. Compared with watching movies and TV series, Su Zicheng thinks he should take a good rest. When Su Zicheng woke up again, the plane had landed. He arrived at the Middle East airport. The Middle East is not a peaceful place, but no matter how peaceful it is, there will be places with good development, such as near the airport. But coming to the Middle East is not really a tourist trip. Noon a day later. In the Middle East, in an unknown desert. The wind and sand are alluring to the eye. And a man wearing a black hooded windbreaker, deliberately hiding his face in the shadow of the hood, and carrying a bow and arrow is walking in the wind and sand. The wind and sand are all isolated. The man is naturally Su Zicheng. He thought he had found what he was looking for. Su Zicheng just stood in the wind and sand, squinting his eyes. The amplified eyesight has become extremely terrifying. Through the fine wind and sand, he can see the scene hundreds of meters away. There is a small hill there. Different from other small hills, this small hill has an entrance, and there are 5 heavily armed guys guarding the outside vigilantly. Being heavily armed is no joke. Wearing a khaki military uniform and body armor, holding an AK in his hand, a grenade on his waist, and a walkie-talkie for communication, they are different from ordinary bandits, like a standard regular army. Even nearby, Su Zicheng also saw boxes of ammunition. This is no ordinary thing, nor is it an ordinary gun. Judging from the sign on the top, the box contains bazookas and rockets. Tut tut. Su Zicheng had expected it a long time ago, so he wasn't really surprised. After all, they are terrorists who can take down Tony, and the energy behind them is huge. Isn't it easy to get rockets and so on in regions like the Middle East? There is no hesitation either. After repeated confirmation, Su Zicheng walked slowly again, heading straight for the hill. Tony, to kill. Terrorists must also be killed. Although the terrorists came to kidnap Tony, in front of Su Zicheng, it was the same as protecting Tony. Therefore, he was already ready to destroy this group of terrorists. Su Zicheng didn't deliberately hide his whereabouts, but after all, the desert was very windy and sandy. After walking for a while, the 5 terrorists guarding the entrance of the cave noticed him. Who is this guy? Come towards us. If he gets any closer, shoot him. It is inevitable that a man dressed in such a strange way, who looks like an assassin, suddenly appeared in the wind-swept desert. But who can participate in the kidnapping of Tony, which one is not a character who has experienced many battles, calms down in an instant. They did not shoot immediately because they were not sure whether Su Zicheng was coming at them. Definitely, don't get me wrong. Regardless of whether they came for them or not, as long as they found them, they had to be killed. This was a death order from the top. If people ran away, then they should be buried together. The reason why he didn't shoot at the first time is simply to make the person come closer, so that he can be more confident to kill him directly. Looking at Su Zicheng's slow but unwavering footsteps, the 5 terrorists frowned deeply, and their vigilance became more and more intense. The terrorists who can participate in the kidnapping of Tony will not be the kind of drunks who know how to drink and have in movies and TV shows. In order to ensure nothing goes wrong, elites are used from top to bottom. This strangely dressed man was able to spot them, and he didn't feel scared at all, but walked towards them instead. Either you have nothing to worry about, or you're an idiot. They thought it was likely the former. Hold the AK tightly in your hand. Once Su Zicheng steps within their range, fire. One order. The 5 terrorists aimed their loaded AKs at Su Zicheng in an instant, and the bullets poured out like raindrops as if they didn't want money. Da da da, da da da, da da da. All of a sudden, gunshots rang out all around. Although it is not as exaggerated as the machine gun emitting blue fire, it is definitely considered a fire suppression, and a large area is completely covered by the gunfire. Although the distance is a bit far and the accuracy head is not very high, but they can't bear it, they don't want money, and they change the magazine after a magazine is finished. The 5 terrorists felt that even if God came, he would be beaten into a hornet's nest under their firepower. However, under the hail of bullets, Su Zicheng actually felt like walking in the rain, without even a trace of blockage in his steps. Before the bullet hit him, it would be blocked by an inexplicable air barrier and land on the sand. Moreover, every time a bullet hits, Su Zicheng will have a mysterious touch. The successive bullets are like a massage. Su Zicheng even squinted his eyes in enjoyment, wishing to urge these guys to continue to shoot himself a few times. Fuck, is this man a monster? Why isn't he dead yet? Support is coming. He's not afraid of guns. He's a monster. Repeat, he's not afraid of guns. When the 5 terrorists saw that Su Zicheng was unharmed, they panicked and hurriedly used the walkie-talkie to urge someone to come. They had already notified the leader of this operation when they found people just now. This is also the death order from the above. As soon as someone appears, they will be informed, and they will be killed if they can be killed, and they will come if they can't be killed. As for Su Zicheng, he also knows the purpose of his trip. He entered the range of the AK, which also means that the other 5 people also entered his range. Enjoying the gunshot like a massage, Su Zicheng narrowed his eyes slightly, picked up the bow, grabbed a handful of 5 arrows from the back, put the arrows on the string, and pulled it full. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. 5 tearing air sounds sounded. 5 streaks of silvery white light flashed past, piercing the heads of the 5 terrorists almost at the same time, piercing directly from the forehead to the back of the head, and the red and white things slowly flowed out. The faces of the 5 terrorists still had incredible expressions, and they fell to the ground without a sound. The sound of gunfire also came at this moment, all coming together. Su Zicheng shook his head. Massage without bullets is weird. Complaining in his heart, Su Zicheng kept walking and had already reached the entrance of the small sandbag. Then, a terrorist jumped out of the hole. Su Zicheng was slightly taken aback. He was still wondering at first. They were all beaten up in front of his house. Why haven't these elites arrived yet? Why didn't they react at all? The result is to arrange this thing. The terrorist who jumped out suddenly carried a bazooka on his shoulders, and the bazooka was naturally equipped with a rocket. With a stern look, he aimed the bazooka at Su Zicheng. Boom! A rumbling roar sounded. Seeing this, Su Zicheng's pupils shrank slightly, and his feet moved together, just like an extremely agile moment, quickly rolling towards the lazy donkey on the side stone. If you don't move, you really think I'm an assassin in meat costume. Pong! The rocket hit the spot where Su Zicheng was just now, blasting out a big crater and splashing gravel. And missed. Come back next time. Su Zicheng glanced at the hole. Take turns to do what I mean. There were several terrorists standing there, at least 3 of them were carrying bazookas, and they would replace each other after firing one. They perfectly missed the gap time between reloading and could deal continuous blows to Su Zicheng. Phew! There was another exhaust-dragging roar. Su Zicheng rolled sideways with his keen sense. And taking advantage of the time of rolling on the ground, he quickly knocked the arrow and pulled the string, and when the arrow was fired with a crack sound, the terrorist who had just fired the rocket fell directly to the ground. As for the other terrorists who tried to suppress them with firearms, he simply ignored them. The AK thing was just for him to massage. In the same way, in just a few seconds, all 3 terrorists carrying rocket launchers were shot and killed by Su Zicheng. Bazooka. Get the bazooka. This team dispatched a total of 7 people, 3 anti-bazooka, and 4 suppressed with gunfire. 3 of the bazookas were killed, and they panicked. A bearded man who was obviously the leader of the team shouted, "Suppress the bazooka immediately." As he spoke, he continued to chug in the direction of Su Zicheng with the AK. Although AK's suppression effect on Su Zicheng is infinitely close to 0, it still gives them a sense of security to some extent. But they also understood. Only the bazooka told Su Zicheng to move and hide. Several of the terrorists heard the boss's order and immediately wanted to take back the bazooka next to the corpse, trying to reload it. But they just walked out of the small hole and took a look. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Several tearing air sounds sounded. The specially made arrows directly penetrated the heads of several people. Fact. The leader of the terrorist team watched several of his subordinates being killed without any hesitation, so he threw the AK in his hand aside and ran into the cave. Boss, someone has invaded. Someone has invaded. Su Zicheng narrowed his eyes slightly and followed quickly. However, just stepped into the hole. Then he saw the muzzle of a rocket launcher aimed at himself. Su Zicheng was taken aback. My Marfak, what are you doing? The hole gets smaller and smaller as you go in. Once you step into the hole, if you use a bazooka, there is nowhere to hide. Can't afford it. Su Zicheng wanted to turn around and leave immediately. But obviously it was too late. The terrorist was anticipating, and before Su Zicheng showed his head, the cannon had already been fired, and as soon as he stepped into the hole, he happened to collide with the fired rocket. The rocket dragged its exhaust and hit Su Zicheng's chest with precision. Pong! The rocket exploded. The smoke filled the air. As if the passage had been hit by an earthquake, it was severely blasted open. Depend on. Su Zicheng only felt that he was hit hard by the hammer. His chest felt tight, his eyes turned black, accompanied by a loud noise. He took a few steps back again and again, feeling breathless for a moment, but he still carried it through. Oh shit, my head froze at this moment. Su Zicheng shook his head violently, looking at the terrorist ahead with a gleam of anger in his eyes. Aren't you an assassin? The team leader looked in horror at Su Zicheng, who had resisted the rocket launcher. The surrounding area was trembling with the aftermath, but the guy who was bombed was fine. Wearing this suit, aren't you an assassin? Grandpa is an assassin dressed in meat. Su Zicheng sneered, took the arrow to the bow, and instantly sent this guy to heaven. I didn't expect to be hit by a rocket. Fortunately, it was as expected, otherwise it would be over. The defensive power of the hunter suit can easily resist ordinary firearms, and can also block rockets. Definitely, it will inevitably be a little uncomfortable to resist rockets. But no fatal damage. The roots of his ears moved slightly. Su Zicheng heard the sound of many footsteps coming towards him. Judging by the weight of the steps, he should be fully armed. Moreover, the number of people is at least 10 or more. All out, Su Zicheng had no hesitation and continued to rush inside. If a terrorist comes out, kill one. Come out 2 to kill 1 pair. Come out with 4 kills and doubles. This group of elite mercenaries terrorists has no ability to resist under Su Zicheng's arrows. 1 arrow at a time without any problems. It was simply a one-sided massacre. The only thing that made Su Zicheng uncomfortable was that he resisted 3 more rockets. In this regard, Su Zicheng could only scratch his head speechlessly, rubbed his chest that was still a little stuffy, and took a deep breath. Hunters, aren't they all assassins? Do you want to go all the way to the dark with a meat-packed assassin? Hard anti-bazooka, rush. 1 man against a group of terrorists. Pong. Boom. As if fighting a war, the sound of guns kept ringing. Grenades, smoke bombs, rockets, almost all weapons that could be used here were used, but they couldn't stop Su Zicheng's footsteps at all. There were screams one after another. At the same time, Tony Stark and Dr. Ensign, who were studying the Mark I armor, also noticed the battle outside. Tony was very pleasantly surprised. Did the military send someone to rescue me? Su Zicheng fought all the way to the end and killed 20 terrorists. The scene was very bloody. There should be some missing. After all, he only killed the terrorists who came to intercept him. Who knows how many more are not gathering. The terrorist leader hasn't seen it yet. However, he was not interested in cleaning up these terrorists, but came to take Tony's head. Kill Tony and go. Terrorists are none of my business, for the country and the people. Non-existent. With a bow and arrow in hand, Su Zicheng finally stopped. This should be the deepest part of this small base. In front of Su Zicheng was a very thick iron door with many bullet marks on it. Just looking at it gave a sense of security, at least there was no problem with bullet resistance. Su Zicheng groped around on the dead body of the terrorist. Found a ring of keys. Then try one after another. Crack. The iron gate opened. Tony, who was doing something to do with it, was slightly stunned, and then quickly reacted. His eyes were slightly widened, and he was extremely surprised. Are you the one the military came to rescue me? At the moment Tony is no longer a handsome boy. Although there are basically no big scars, there are many small scratches and scratches. His body and face are dirty, full of oil and blood. Just like the workers who usually work in the factory. In this small base, apart from Tony, there is another white man with a hook nose, which is obviously a note of Tony's metamorphosis in the early stage as Iron Man Dr. Inson. However, the white coat on his body was almost turning into a black coat. It doesn't mean to discriminate against workers, but Su Zicheng couldn't help laughing when this image appeared on Tony's body. However, with Su Zicheng's eyesight, it can still be seen. The research of Tony and Dr. Yingson should have entered the middle and late stages. In short, Tony should have extracted the elements and made a super energy device, and the dog's life has been saved. This made Su Zicheng breathe a sigh of relief. What if something unexpected happens in this world because of my arrival, and Tony dies? Wouldn't all the money I spent in my business be wasted? Fortunately, the only unexpected thing at present is himself, and other things are developing according to the plot. Mr. Tony, are you dreaming? Su Zicheng suppressed his throat on purpose, pretending to be dark and gloomy, drew the bowstring fully, and pointed the arrow at Tony. Someone told me to kill you. Quote exclamation mark quote. Tony was startled, and then reacted suddenly. Who wants my dog's life? I don't have a dog. Dr. Yingson, who thought he could breathe a sigh of relief, also stood beside Tony, looking at Su Zicheng warily. Mr. Tony, are you playing with me? Su Zicheng couldn't help laughing, but still feigned anger and said, I don't have much time to spend with you. Goodbye, Tony. Saying that, the two fingers that hooked the bowstring loosened slightly. For 10 million, he didn't mind taking Tony's life. Don't dare. Brother, can I ask a question? Tony waved his hands again and again. How much? How much did those people pay you? 10 million. Su Zicheng squinted his eyes. Before sending Tony to heaven, he could answer some of his doubts. It could be regarded as a little consolation for his previous love. Anyway, Tony couldn't run away if he wanted to. What? Who knows? After hearing this number, Tony suddenly became startled, with an unbelievable look. 10 million. I'm worth 10 million. I'm a dignified Tony Stark, but I'm only worth 10 million. Any farts to fart. If not, you can go to God. Tony is a living creature, very good at laughing. But it doesn't stop Su Zicheng from wanting to kill him. Wait, there is more. There is more. Tony hurriedly stopped Su Zicheng again. His brain turned quickly. Brother, you are so young, why do you want to do this business? Although Su Zicheng deliberately lowered his voice to make his voice sound more majestic. But who was Tony Stark? Naturally, he could tell that the person in front of him might not be very old, and judging from the exposed half of his face, it was exactly the same. There is not even stubble, and there are some fine fluff, obviously not a person of his age. Tony was obviously stalling for time now, talking to Su Zicheng while groping for something with his hands behind his back. Money. Su Zicheng looked at Tony like an idiot. He does this business, not for money but for what? Are you tough? Moreover, the meaning of this money is different. His money can do too many things. Ahem. Tony was choked up, but he was a smart man after all. He immediately stretched out two fingers and said, Brother, I'll give you money, 20 million. Don't kill me. He originally thought that the people who came to kill him were purely for his life, or for other ulterior motives. There are really not many people with such high skills who are purely for money, at least Tony has never met them. But, if it was only about money, Tony would have relaxed a lot. Money, that thing he has the most. Quote. Su Zicheng was slightly taken aback. 20 million, to be honest, he was a little moved. 10 million more, but I am a bounty hunter, and I have professional ethics. Su Zicheng waved his hand righteously, but the bow in his hand had been slowly lowered. Tony's pupils shrank slightly, and there was something in his heart, and joy rose. But at this moment, hasty footsteps sounded. And what about terrorists? Su Zicheng frowned slightly. Mother, if you want to come, why don't you come together, one batch after another? It's very annoying. Tony is not a sand sculpture either, he quickly found a place to hide. Then it was time for Su Zicheng to show off. This time there were 10 in total. In just 3 minutes, all the terrorists in this small group were killed, and because the place was not big, hand-to-hand combat would inevitably occur. Although Su Zicheng has never learned the fighting technique, his strength is 5 times that of ordinary people. Coupled with the increase of the hunter suit, it is indestructible. It is not too easy to deal with these ordinary people. It's so simple and rough that once you get close, a punch will be ahead, and by the way, you also showed off Shaoli's flying darts. Click, rub, rub. Da, shish. Tony and Dr. Yingson stood behind the equipment they were researching, feeling the feeling of bullets passing through their scalps, trembling with fear. It would be nothing if he died before, but now that the escape plan has been carried out in the middle and late stages, it would be a big loss if he was accidentally killed at this juncture. They also understood why Su Zicheng was able to forcefully enter here to kill Tony. Indestructible, the domineering group, looks like an assassin. Well, it is indeed an assassin, but it is written as an assassin, read as a tank, really ruthless. At the same time, Tony was also thankful in his heart that he didn't do anything. Just now I wanted to sneak attack him, but now that I look at it, I still sneak attack. I don't even have a gun in my hand, so it's better to say it's a sneak attack than courting death. Get rid of this group of terrorists. Su Zicheng turned around, and before he could speak, Tony said directly, Sir. Boss. 30 million. No. 40 million. Give me a way out. No. I have professional ethics. Su Zicheng spoke righteously on the surface, but his heart was trembling slightly. 40 million, maybe not a big deal to Tony. But converted into soft sister coins, that's 300 million. He was not rich in his previous life and this life, and he has never seen so much money in his life. Moreover, with so many knives, how much ability can you buy? Can you kill the purple sweet potato? Although it may not be able to reach that level, it should be possible to fight against purple sweet potatoes, right? Tony is really a big dog. Listen to the words of Su Zicheng's righteous words. Tony's little heart was also trembling slightly, but unlike Su Zicheng's, he was trembling a little bit. Am I, Tony Stark, going to confess here today? Oh no. However, at the moment, Su Zicheng's voice sounded again. Unless, when Tony heard these 2 words, he suddenly regained his energy, and his pupils glared angrily. Sir. Unless what? I promise you whatever you want. His heart was in his throat. No matter how good the quality is, I can't help but want to complain. It's really uncomfortable to talk halfway. Torment. Unless you send me a task. Su Zicheng thought for a while. He was very curious, if Tony sent him a different task, would it count as a bounty task, would he get money? This is the professional ethics of a bounty hunter. Listen to Su Zicheng's upright and invincible words. Tony complained slightly in his heart. You call this the professional ethics of a bounty hunter? Brother, your skin is thicker than my leather shoes. Definitely, he didn't dare to say this, he only dared to complain in his heart. Finally, Tony held out 5 fingers. 50 million. Mr. Hunter, I will give you 50 million knives, issue a mission, let me go. Su Zicheng secretly laughed in his heart, his face remained calm, and his voice was still pretending, I accept your mission. Does this count as catching a loophole in the system? In the future, if there is a mission that will kill someone, first check to see if that person has money, and if he has money, let him release a mission that allows him to let him go. I know, it's not so easy to earn this money, it's a lot of money. As for professional conduct, what the hell is that? Bounty hunter. Bounty first, hunter last. Therefore, the bounty is his professional ethics, and everything else is just floating clouds. And when Tony and Su Zicheng forced Lai Lai, the bearded leader of the terrorist, finally couldn't sit still. When he first received the notification that someone had invaded, he didn't really pay much attention to it. After all, there is only one person, so can they still be brought together? As a result, the thoughts in my heart came true. According to the intelligence, the intruder was indestructible, not even afraid of bazookas, and was walking straight to where Tony Stark was, without thinking about anything else. As long as the terrorists were going to intercept him on the way, they would die one by one, and the few who survived were still because they were not seen by Su Zicheng. There weren't many terrorists under his command, and almost all of them died after going to these few batches. It wasn't a one-shot, but it was better than a one-shot. How could he calm down? Could he be a bare-handed commander? And, the guy had no interest in anything else, including ammunition, and the only possibility was to save Tony Stark. Hippie, military, or is it another organization? When did such a ruthless person appear? People can die, but Tony Stark must not be rescued. Tony's value was much higher than those of the dead terrorists, and no less than that of any country's leaders. The bearded man who couldn't sit still immediately picked up the bazooka, greeted the rest of the terrorists, and immediately went to Tony's place. He has notified other terrorists in the Middle East to come to support him, and what he has to do now is to hold this ruthless man. ... Didn't know there were more terrorists coming. Su Zicheng and Tony have already negotiated. Tony posted the task. Ask Su Zicheng to spare his life. The bounty is 50 million knives. Su Zicheng readily agreed. A comparison of 10 million and 50 million, there is no comparison, the sand sculpture knows which one to choose. Farewell. Su Zicheng waved his hand. Goodbye. Tony breathed a sigh of relief, although he still couldn't help complaining about this professional ethics. At least his life was saved. You can still find me next time, my card number is on it. Su Zicheng threw Tony a business card and waved as he walked, leaving Tony with a chic and unruly back. Now that the mission has been accomplished, there is no point in continuing to stay here. ... Tony's movements froze, his smile froze. Who the hell wants to run into you? If you encounter this kind of bounty hunter, you will either be hunted or hunt someone else. The former need not go into details, the latter must be something out of control. No matter which one, he doesn't want to go through again. Although he was MMP in his heart, Tony still picked up the super simple business card temporarily made by Su Zicheng. Bounty hunter contact number, card number, gone. Watching Su Zicheng leave, Tony and Dr. Yingson finally breathed a sigh of relief, their whole bodies limp on the ground, not wanting to move. And at this moment, the sound of extremely dense footsteps sounded. Tony and Dr. Inson stood up abruptly, looked at each other, and they both saw something bad in each other's eyes. It's over. Sure enough, just as they expected. One after another, terrorists swarmed in, aiming all kinds of weapons in their hands at Tony and Dr. Inson. Ack, bazooka, put your hands up. Tony didn't dare to think of any resistance at all. At the same time, I was crying so hard that I was about to cry. Oh shit, how did he forget this crop? I was completely threatened by Su Zicheng just now. I left all other things behind, and concentrated on dealing with Su Zicheng, and I completely forgot about these terrorists. Why didn't I let him rescue me out? Just post the task. Even if Tony was blown up by the aftermath of the explosion, he wouldn't be in such a bad mood now. After spending 50 million yuan, can't you spend tens of millions more to get yourself out of danger? Not much. This time, it's over. The bearded terrorist pushed away the subordinates who surrounded Tony and Dr. Inson, looked at Tony and Dr. Inson, and squinted his eyes. Why wasn't Tony rescued? This thought didn't linger in his mind for long, because the most urgent thing was to get out of here quickly. Someone came here and disappeared, and Tony couldn't stay here any longer. Tony must continue to study weapons in another place. Take him away. Transfer base. The head of the terrorists gave an order, and several big men swarmed up, smashed a few butts of their guns, smashed Tony and Dr. Inson, and led them away from the base. This is very unfavorable to Tony, because his armor has been researched almost. Once it is transferred, it needs to be remade, and it will take several days. Before he passed out, the only thought in Tony's heart, MMP, the hard mode has become hell mode. Roddy, come and save me. He doesn't care what Tony thinks. Su Zicheng is on his way out of the Middle East. He doesn't care what happens to Tony at all. This is how the system judges. First, it will be determined whether the task issuer has the conditions for offering reward funds. If the conditions are not met, then the task originally is invalid. Secondly, after the task is completed, in addition to the commission given by the reward task publisher, if the time is too long, the system will deduct it. Finally, once the bounty hunter has other ideas about the bounty hunter, for example, if he does not want to give a commission, the system will issue a task and order the bounty hunter to hunt and kill the publisher. In short, this system is still guaranteed for hunters. Walk in the desert. This line is really exciting. Su Zicheng's blood is still boiling. Killing for the first time. Got shot for the first time. Was bombed by rockets for the first time. The first time. There are too many firsts, and it feels a bit innumerable. However, this task is very cool. Never mention it. 50 million. Is this a system bug? Su Zicheng felt so flattered. In the future, if there is a reward task for hunting other people, just ask that person to pay a higher price so that you don't kill him. Isn't this a flattering thing? Money is really easy to earn. For the first time, Su Zicheng felt that this money was too easy to earn. He found a system loophole so easily. Relying on this system loophole, he didn't know how much money he could make. Dog system, ah, dog system. Unexpectedly, I caught this loophole. Su Zicheng can't wait to look up to the sky and sing, "We common people, I'm really happy today." Ding, congratulations to the host for catching the vulnerability, and it is being repaired. Finished. After the host accepts the task in the future, the task target will be invalid for the task judgment issued by the host. Su Zicheng's smile hidden under the hood froze. An indescribable sense of sadness welled up in my heart. What is extreme joy begets sorrow? This is called extreme joy begets sorrow. Su Zicheng's current mood is comparable to Tony Stark's. He is a dog, wanting to die but wanting to live on. Adertisement. Depend on. If I knew it earlier, I wouldn't be so embarrassing. Now it's over, the loopholes have been sealed by the system. System, will I give you such a big loophole? Doesn't exist, all right lad. However, if you are blocked, you will be blocked. Su Zicheng suddenly thought of one thing. It is imperative to ask this. He hurriedly asked, "System, is Tony's mission still count?" The tasks completed before the loopholes are blocked will naturally count. The cold voice of the system seemed so pleasant to the ears of Su Zicheng from at the moment. Su Zicheng heaved a sigh of relief. So far so good. Even if the loophole is sealed, I have made a fortune from this loophole. A full 50 million. No loss, no loss. Su Zicheng kept staring at himself. No loss, a hammer. Blood loss, blood loss. Hypnotic ability is impossible to succeed. Su Zicheng feels his heart hurts. It is possible to earn 100 million, 500 million, 1 billion, or even tens of billions in the long run. But now, they only got 50 million. Sighing, Su Zicheng asked resolutely, "System, those online games that find bugs and loopholes will be rewarded by the official, how about you? Don't you want to express it?" The system pondered for a while, and said, "I found a major loophole, and I will reward the hunter with 50,000 funds and 1 point of physical fitness." Yes, it's really a trap. Su Zicheng's eyes lit up. The system is amazing, the system, I love you. Needless to say, the 50,000 funds will be useful to Tony before his bounty arrives. There is still 1 point of physique. In the system, 1 point of physique needs 20,000, and according to the higher the hunter's physique point, its price will also increase. Gradually climbed higher. Although these two rewards are nothing compared to the benefits brought by the loopholes, they are more or less compensation. If loopholes cannot be used, a little compensation is also very good. While feeling refreshed, Su Zicheng was also secretly smiling. In order to get something out of the dog system, Su Zicheng really racked his brains. Now he is not at all like the high-profile bounty hunter who faced Tony just now, but he is similar to the Philistine ant who bargained with the pork seller in the vegetable market. However, he actually seized another loophole. If bugs and official feedback are found in the online game, the official will naturally give rewards, but the premise is that the official feedback has been given. If there is no feedback, if you still try to use the bug to make a profit, the officials are not fools, the rewards do not exist, and they will severely punish this group of players. The simple system is still a little tender for Su Zicheng, an old netizen who has been surfing the internet for 10 years. Su Zicheng took off the hunter suit and stuffed it into the hunter space, and returned to the hotel he rented yesterday next to the Middle East airport. Then I booked a ticket back to New York tomorrow, and I completely relaxed. As for why today's, I've come all the time, if I don't take a stroll, I'm so sorry for my airfare, he hasn't been to the Middle East yet. Carrying out the task belongs to carrying out the task. Su Zicheng feels that he has to combine work with rest. What if I want to become the same person as those killers? Su Zicheng remembered the killer he saw in the movie of his previous life. These killers generally have some eccentricities. They kill too many people. They either have no feelings for extreme indifference, or they are a little perverted. In some ways, they are even worse. Su Zicheng trembled. He didn't want to become that kind of person in the future. Therefore, he set a rule for himself. After each task is completed, calculate the gains and losses. Then rest for more than a week. The specific time is up to you, but to perform a task, rest for at least a week. This is the most basic. While wandering around the airport in the Middle East, Su Zicheng was also calculating how much he earned and paid this time. First of all, if you calculate the loss, it is $200,000, and there are two 10% discounts and loopholes. To be honest, the value of those two 10% discounts seems immeasurable, but in fact it is just that. After all, there is a time limit, which can only be used within 1 month, plus the system originally restricted hunters. It looks immeasurable, but it is actually very limited. As for the loophole, forget it, this is definitely a blood loss. And get it, the 50 million that has not yet been obtained, 50,000 funds that can be used in the system, and 1 point of physical fitness. This trip to the mission is still perfect. If it is not counted as the loopholes being filled, it will be a blood mother. But after a day of mental adjustment, Su Zicheng also figured it out. Loopholes are meant to be made up for. Even if they are discovered later, they will still be made up for, and there are compensations. After all, I still make money. People, the most important thing is to know how to be satisfied. Gains and losses are so calculated. Su Zicheng also knew how bloody his mission was this time. Once the 50 million funds are included in the system space, he still doesn't know how many things he can buy, and he thinks it is beautiful when he thinks about it. Spent an afternoon in the Middle East. But to be honest, there is nothing to do here in the Middle East, and you will get tired of shopping for an afternoon. The next morning, Su Zicheng took the flight and returned to New York. I have to say that the United States is different from the Middle East. There are deserts everywhere in the Middle East, and the air quality is really worrying. Definitely, the United States is not much better, but in comparison, short people are taller. After Su Zicheng returned to New York, he didn't immediately go back to school and tell the teacher that he would cut off his vacation. Instead, the first thing to do after returning home is to use the 50,000 funds and 1 point of stamina obtained from the discovered loophole. Add physical fitness points. The strength has obviously increased a lot. Su Zicheng exhaled slowly. His physique was 5 points before, and now it is 6 points after adding it, which is 6 times that of ordinary people. Moreover, physique is not something that can be analyzed by 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 6. You must know that in the introduction of the system, physique includes strength, speed, agility. It is a combination of these evaluation. Except for physical points. During this trip to the Middle East, Su Zicheng understood one thing and also discovered his own shortcomings. Fight. He doesn't know fighting technique at all. Really not at all. If you have to say it hard, Su Zicheng only knows one boxing method, Wang Bakwan. When facing the terrorists, he just relied on his physique far superior to them to punch and beat the teacher to death. Sora has great strength but can't use it, just like holding an arrow without a bow. It's okay to deal with ordinary people, but it's over when the strength is crushed. But if he meets a military elite like Captain America who has similar physique to him and is proficient in killing fighting techniques, he will probably lose in 2 rounds, and even Natasha Romanoff will be a bit difficult to fight. Su Zicheng thought about it. In the end, I chose to use the remaining 50,000 funds to purchase an ability. Fighting technique, the price is 200,000, including all fighting techniques in the world, no grades. A full 200,000, Su Zicheng's 50,000 funds are enough to buy a quarter. But it is obviously impossible for the system to only sell a quarter to him. But Su Zicheng still remembers it. I also have a 10% discount in my hand. It has been more than a month and a half since I became a hunter, and Tony doesn't know when he can give him the money. What if the time limit is exceeded? Isn't that a blood loss? It's better to use it here, it's perfect. Moreover, although the introduction of this fighting technique is very simple, but including all fighting techniques in the world, Su Zicheng also knows how powerful this thing is. It doesn't look as good as those expensive and exaggerated products, but to him, the value of this thing may be more than many fancy abilities. Fighting technique. As long as his body is strong, unless the enemy is immune to physical damage, he can use it no matter what the situation. No more hesitation. Su Zicheng chose to buy it. The funds owned by the hunter cannot purchase this product. Do you want to use the 10% discount card? Yes. Su Zicheng nodded. Purchased. In an instant, a torrent of memories rushed into Su Zicheng's mind. Military fighting, Sanda, karate, Bajikwan, Wing Chun, and even Taijikwan. Monkeys steal peaches, flirt with palms. Su Zicheng is obsessed with these memories, as if he is experiencing these lives. It seems to be a long time, but in Huang Liang's dream, in reality, only a few seconds have passed. He has already mastered all the fighting techniques in the world that can and cannot be named. Su Zicheng slowly opened his eyes and looked at his hands. Swing a drive. Fist at the door of their own house. The fists he uses are chaotic and disorderly, sometimes fierce, sometimes gentle, sometimes feminine, and sometimes extremely vicious. Besides his boxing skills, his footwork is not bad at all. He is not flexible like a man. It's not right to say it's boxing. After all, there are boxing and kicking techniques, so it should be practicing martial arts. I practiced martial arts for about an hour, and I got addicted to it. Some of these boxing techniques are extremely difficult. Even with Su Zicheng's current physique, he is sweating profusely, but they are very refreshing and hearty. After a while ago, he also had a little understanding of his current fighting technique. Second to none, said without any humility. As far as fighting is concerned, no one in this world can beat him. With these incomparably exquisite fighting techniques, even if Su Zicheng encounters people whose physique is more terrifying than himself, Su Zicheng is sure to kill them. Among these fighting skills, there are not only those that can be crushed by pure strength. In short, the 20,000 funds and the 10% discount card are worth it. Su Zicheng sighed for a while, and opened them all again. This time he wants to buy some items. Like a bow. The bow that I spent a lot of money to customize before has experienced the baptism of AK and rockets, and now it is almost useless. White snake bow, the price is 30,000. The bow is made of wood from the sky. The strings are the tendons of a white snake. It looks like a white snake and is extremely tough. It can be strengthening. When buying a bow, another word appeared that he hadn't heard in the system before. Strengthening. Su Zicheng understood a little bit. Strengthening is not the same as leveling. +1, +2, +3, +4, +5, probably like this, a bit similar to the strengthening of equipment in the game, very easy to understand. Will the entire bow of enchantment be released in the future? But this is not something he can think about for the time being, unless Tony's 50 million arrives in the account, then he can still fiddle with it. Let's forget it now, poverty prevents him from pushing too much. Su Zicheng just had 30,000 left, so he bought White Snake Bow without hesitation. This thing is the capital for his life now. He can't buy it, otherwise, he will have to make a bow every time he goes out, not to mention the trouble, and a lot of money will be wasted. Buying White Snake Bow, forget it, but I still need to customize the arrows, which is really troublesome. But that's all for now. Su Zicheng loves the White Snake Bow a lot. The shape of this bow is much more handsome than the custom-made one. Host. Su Zicheng. Physical fitness. 6. Hunter level. D. Ability. Absolute hit LV.1 fighting technique. Equipment. White Snake Bow. There is an extra row of equipment bars in the character stats panel. Although the overall panel is not gorgeous, compared to before, it can be said that its strength has skyrocketed. Good brother, let's fight side by side together later. Reluctantly throwing the White Snake Bow into the hunter space, Su Zicheng stretched. Next, I took a comfortable bath. Then there is. Lai watches movies and plays games at home. Having said that, we will fight side by side together in the future. Let the bow of the white snake eat ashes in the hunter space for now. He had been preparing for this mission for a long time, and it was the first time to perform a mission. He was mentally and physically vigilant and exhausted. If he still went to school, he felt that he might go crazy. It was a real torment to study for so long in the previous life. Let him be more self-willed in this life. It is already uncomfortable enough to relearn the original one. Anyway, the 1-month holiday has only passed a week, and there are still more than 20 days left. Su Zicheng chose to play comfortably at home for a while before going back to school. Anyway, there are only a lot more entertainment items in this world than in the previous life. All kinds of good-looking movies and 3A masterpieces emerge endlessly, and there is no pressure to change and play for a few days, just rush and finish. Just when Su Zicheng was lazing at home. However, something seemingly insignificant happened in Queen's High School, but it was actually the starting point of a certain hero. Tom Holland was beaten up by Su Zicheng a few days ago. It took 2 full days of recuperation to recover. Now that he thought about the scene of being beaten that day, he still trembled a little and wanted to cry a little. But who is Tom Holland? A violent big man, the perpetrator of school violence. From childhood to adulthood, anyone who disliked was beaten up, and it's not like he didn't get hit back. This time, it was a little more serious at most. Tom Holland had rested for 3 days and almost recovered. After recovering, Tom Holland became more and more annoyed. But he didn't dare to seek revenge on Su Zicheng. Not to mention that you can't beat Su Zicheng at all. Su Zicheng is not in school at all now. This made Tom Holland suffocate a fire in his heart, and the fire was burning hotter and hotter, and it was getting hotter and hotter, and it had reached the point where he would die if he didn't vent. And until last night, Tom, do you know, the Su Zicheng who beat you that day? Jerry, fart as long as you want, don't talk to me. Just that Su Zicheng, why do you think he beat you? You didn't know him before, no grievances, no enmity. Why did he beat you? How the hell do I know? I have news. If you have any news, tell. That brat Peter hired him to beat you up. What? Now, everything is clear. Tom Holland suddenly realized. He just said, he didn't know Su Zicheng at all before, why did he suddenly come and beat him up? It turned out to be that brat Peter. If it was Peter, then everything would make sense. Brat. Anger ignited in Tom Holland's eyes, and he clenched his fists the size of 2 sandbags. Su Zicheng, he didn't dare to provoke him. But Peter's small body is not necessarily so. Persimmons need to be picked softly, which is the conclusion Tom Holland has drawn for so long on campus violence. This is his nature, to bully the weak and fear the hard, to bully the weak and fear the hard. The next morning, Peter hummed a song with headphones on, feeling the surging power in his body, and happily walked on campus. He felt metamorphosis. Hey, Peter. Just as Peter was stuffing things into the locker, a tall figure suddenly appeared behind him. He slammed the door of the locker hard. The sound of pong was extremely loud, attracting the attention of the surrounding students. Then, I saw Tom Holland propping one hand on the locker, lowering his head, looking down at Peter. Suddenly, a hint of interest appeared in some people's eyes. Many people here watched Su Zicheng beat Tom Holland violently a few days ago, and there were many smart people. It can be seen at a glance that Peter asked Su Zicheng to beat Tom Holland. Now Tom Holland comes to Peter. What is that for? There is no need to say more. Those who understand will naturally understand, and those who do not understand will understand. Holland, what's the matter? Unlike Tom Holland's affectionate Peter, Peter calls him by his last name. Is there something wrong? Definitely something is wrong. Tom Holland shook his fist. He could press it, his bones crackled, and the corner of his mouth curled up with a cruel arc. Is it a thing to beat you up? He shook his gray-white shoes and looked at Peter defiantly. Don't force me. Peter took a few steps back and looked at Tom Holland, looking panicked. His panic was a little different from what he looked like. If you panic, you are afraid that you will not be able to control your strength. What should you do if you punch Tom Holland to death? When the two were entangled, MJ, who was interesting to both of them, suddenly pushed through the crowd and walked in. Tom, Peter, what are you doing? MJ felt very bad when he saw this appearance, and quickly pushed Tom Holland away to block Peter. Peter looked at MJ moved. I knew you still had me in your heart, MJ. However, MJ didn't know that his behavior made Tom Holland even more angry. I was beaten and you didn't come to protect me. Now I want to take revenge, but you protect my enemy. Originally only had a playful attitude towards MJ, Tom Holland pushed MJ away, and said viciously, "Get out. It has nothing to do with you." MJ didn't expect Tom Holland to shoot at her, and was pushed aside unexpectedly, took a few steps back and sprained his ankle. Hiss. Anyone who has experienced the pain of sprained ankle knows, MJ's complexion suddenly became ugly, and he squatted on the ground, gasping for air. Chapter 21. You are too much. When Peter saw that MJ was injured, he immediately forgot about Tom Holland, and all he could think about was whether MJ had any serious problems. Hurry up and send MJ to the infirmary, what if something happens? However, he just wanted to help MJ, but he was stopped by Tom Holland just after he took a few steps. What's wrong with being too much? Tom Holland didn't know that he had offended his future neighbor in New York, and he still looked like he deserved a beating. He stretched out his face to Peter, kept pointing his fingers at that half of his face, and said sarcastically, "I'm not looking for you. Is Su Zicheng coming to hit me? Now I will give you a chance to hit me personally, come. Hit this way. Hurry up, you." Peter looked at Tom Holland in front of him. He clenched his fists. His eyes became a little dangerous. He was already angered by this guy in front of him, and it was not ordinary anger. You can scold me, you can bully me, but you can't bully MJ. I've never seen such a strange request. Peter roared angrily and punched Tom Holland hard in the face. He couldn't react at all. The moment the fist made contact with the face, Tom Holland's handsome face suddenly became extremely distorted, and then, as if he had been hit by a fast-moving truck, he was punched flying and slammed into the corridor on the other side of the locker. Pong! There was a loud bang, and the entire locker began to vibrate. Even though he had expected it in his heart, Peter was still frightened by the power of his punch. Wow, my strength has actually increased again. And, unbeknownst to Peter, the crowd was more surprised than he was. Oh, shit, when did Peter become so powerful? This Tom has been sanctioned again, I'm so happy. Did Sue teach Peter Chinese Kung Fu? I want to learn too. Tom really deserves to be beaten up, looking for work twice in a row, and this time he pushed MJ. There are roughly two emotions among the onlookers. Gloat, surprise, want to study. No one paid special attention to how Tom Holland was doing. It was obvious at a glance how annoying Tom Holland was. There were noisy discussions in his ears, pulling Peter out of his thoughts, and immediately walked towards MJ, who was sitting on the ground looking at him in a daze. However, Tom Holland didn't faint immediately, but he was already staring at him. He could only vaguely see Peter walking towards him. He thought he was going to make up the knife, and suddenly burst into tears. Don't hit me, please, don't hit me, woo-woo, Peter, I was wrong, you can do whatever you want. Tom Holland is really a dog. He also never imagined that Peter, who usually looks thin and weak, actually punched him flying. Kick to the iron plate twice. God, can't you afford it, can't you afford it? The more I thought about it, the more sad I felt. In the end, Tom Holland was crying, and he fainted gorgeously again. And Peter didn't look at Tom Holland again from the beginning to the end, but quickly helped MJ up. MJ, let's go to the infirmary. MJ is still a little confused and speechless. Suddenly, Peter punched Tom Holland, a 1.8-meter muscular man, flying away. To be honest, the shock of seeing this with his own eyes is indescribable. After sending MJ to the infirmary, he found that his ankle was only slightly sprained. He just needed to apply it and he would be fine after a little rest. Peter finally breathed a sigh of relief. Later, the teacher also went to Peter and Tom Holland. Tom Holland is fine, but his face is swollen and fat. After a series of discussions, the final result was naturally that Tom Holland was severely criticized and ordered to drop out of school, never admitting this guy. You know, Peter is also a super gifted student. A bad student with school violence and a gifted student, the school definitely knows how to choose. ... Another day of gaming at home. The sky has gradually darkened. Su Zicheng rubbed his belly. I'm not very hungry, but I still need a pad. It's too wasteful to order takeaway, and I probably can't eat it. Go out and buy some bread. Su Zicheng dressed up a bit and went out. However, to his surprise, he met Peter, who was also shopping in a convenience store, but he bought bread, while Peter bought eggs. Peter. Su Zicheng stretched out his hand, ready to pat Peter on the shoulder. However, Peter, who was picking eggs, seemed to have eyes behind him, and stretched out his hand swiftly, blocking Su Zicheng's hand. However, when he found out that the person behind was actually Su Zicheng, Peter laughed awkwardly. Oh, so it's Zicheng you. Su Zicheng narrowed his eyes slightly. To be able to react so quickly. Has Peter become Little Spider-Man? Unexpectedly, only these days after I left, Peter has turned into a little Spider-Man. Who else can I be? He had already considered it in his heart, but Su Zicheng remained calm on the surface, as if he hadn't found anything. He hooked Peter's shoulder. Ah ha ha. Peter scratched his head in embarrassment. Spider telepathy doesn't know what's going on, isn't it that something threatening to oneself will only react when it approaches itself? Why did it suddenly happen just now? Out of order. After much deliberation, he couldn't figure it out. Peter could only put this mistake on the occasional failure of the ability he had just acquired. Peter, you've been happy lately. Su Zicheng squinted his eyes, and said with a mean smile, during my absence, what happened? He could indeed see it. The current Peter is not quite the same as the slightly sullen boy before. He couldn't be more happy picking an egg. Today my relationship with MJ has become good friends. Speaking of this incident, Peter smiled happily, like a young boy in spring. In his opinion, this is indeed good news. It is usually difficult to say a word with MJ. He has officially evolved from a casual friend to a good friend, all thanks to MJ's sprained ankle in the afternoon. This matter is also solved. Not promising. Su Zicheng shook his head, although he has never been in a relationship, but this does not prevent him from mocking little Spider-Man. Step by step, Peter scratched his head, suddenly seemed to remember something, and said in surprise, by the way, Zicheng, didn't you go back to bed? Why are you here? You know. Su Zicheng gave Peter a look of, you understand, I understand, everyone understands, I have been there and come back. Looking for another chance to be lazy. Peter hammered Su Zicheng's chest. Take me next time. Also, Ned is at my house. And May cooked delicious food. Would you like to come? I have prepared Lego blocks. Let's build a big one tonight. Ned, that little black fat guy. Su Zicheng scratched his head, just now that his stomach was empty, so he agreed. Peter's home is very close to Su Zicheng's home, on the same street, otherwise you wouldn't meet in a convenience store. Seeing that Su Zicheng agreed, Peter smiled happily and patted Su Zicheng on the shoulder. Wait a minute, I'll go buy a box of eggs. If I don't buy them back, Aunt May will give me a good look. Good looking. Give me also Kangkong. Anyway, Su Zicheng didn't buy bread because he was going to eat at someone else's house. Wouldn't it be nice to have something warm to eat? In this way, Peter obviously just went to buy an egg, but brought back an extra mouth. Su Zicheng also met Aunt May for the first time. The little Spider-Man in this world is different from the old 3 Spider-Man that Su Zicheng saw, but a new version of Little Spider-Man. In fact, the new version of Little Spider-Man is not as good as the third version in terms of connotation and classic level, which means it is fun to watch, but what Su Zicheng has to say is that Aunt May is very beautiful. The charm still exists. However, this is just an exclamation. Su Zicheng is not interested in middle-aged women, and he is not the kind of big stallion who wants to sow seeds for women all over the world once he comes to a certain world. Let Aunt May leave it to Tony's driver. The dinner at Peter's house was a very typical Western dinner, with hamburgers, sandwiches, and vegetable salads. It seemed that because of Su Zicheng and Ned, May had a few slices of steak. It's delicious, at least better than bread. During the chat at the dinner table, Su Zicheng quickly won the favor of everyone with his humor, and asked pretendingly curiously, "Peter, where is your uncle?" Because everyone has a good impression of Su Zicheng, and this matter is not a secret, so they talked to Su Zicheng openly. Peter's situation is probably no father, no mother, no uncle, but the uncle's death is not so twists and turns, he was just killed by a car very simply. And Peter was still young at the time, so he has no big touch until now. He is not shy, he is very funny with his friends, and he is also popular with teachers at school. After listening to their explanation, Su Zicheng looked suddenly enlightened and apologetic. "I'm really sorry for asking such a question." Although Peter and the others didn't care, Su Zicheng felt that he still had to say sorry. It's not a good thing to expose people's scars. In addition to Aunt May, Su Zicheng also met the little black fat Ned. Others don't know, but he knows clearly that this little black fat man looks ugly, but he is actually a computer expert, a classic configuration teammate of superhero. It might come in handy in the future. It seems unintentional, but in fact, it is intentional to get close to Ned. We're full. Su Zicheng, Peter, and Ned put down their knives and forks almost at the same time, and after saying hello, they all rushed upstairs. Aunt May had no choice but to say, "Boys, run slowly, don't fall." Peter and Della played with building blocks with Su Zicheng. It has to be said that the two of them are good at playing with building blocks, and all kinds of tricks emerge in an endless stream, and Su Zicheng can't intervene. But because he has no interest in building blocks, Su Zicheng just stayed for a while and then went home. Although there is an intention to befriend Ned, but they are pure friends. If it is not enough, Su Zicheng can also buy a skill about computers. There is no need to lick a person desperately. For the next few days, Su Zicheng stayed at home. The 1-month holiday has passed half a month. While he was considering whether to go back to school, something happened. Tony was rescued. What is Tony's identity? The head, chairman and CEO of Stark, the largest arms company in the United States. After news of her disappearance was reported, almost everyone thought Tony was dead. Some are gloating, some are sad, and some are happy. But no matter which one, there are countless people and countless news agencies paying close attention to him. As soon as he was rescued by the later war machine Colonel Roddy, the news immediately spread overwhelmingly. Almost as long as they have been on the internet, or looked at their mobile phones, all the citizens of New Moon who have been out of the house know about the resurrection of the playboy Tony Stark. After Su Zicheng knew about this, he smiled lightly, seemingly indifferently, but his eyes still shone with excitement. Inevitable. After all, 50 million is finally coming to the account. When Tony got home, the first thing he did was eat 3 double-decker burgers. I've never felt so comfortable at home. Tony drank his glass of wine and let out a sigh of relief. Since Su Zicheng came, Tony's game mode has been upgraded from difficulty to hell, and the difficulty has been increased by at least twice. Difficulty obtaining materials, increasing numbers of terrorists. This is what he and Dr. Inson have to face. Thinking of Dr. Inson, Tony finally showed a trace of sadness on his unruly face. As in the movie, Dr. Inson stalled for time alone in order to allow Tony to escape successfully, and finally led to being sifted into a sieve. Tony didn't blame Su Zicheng, because he knew that Drive Yingson might have already made this preparation before Su Zicheng came. The only one he blamed was himself. Why wasn't Su Zicheng hired then? What an elm brain. However, after this crisis, Tony also understood a lot. During the long period of being trapped here, he witnessed terrorists using the weapons produced by Stark to attack civilians, which caused him a strong visual impact. So, the second thing I did when I returned to the company was to hold a press conference. There are 2 reasons for holding a press conference. One is to announce to some unruly people that Tony Stark is back. Second, it announced the closure of Stark's arms manufacturing department and the cessation of research and production of weapons. The previous point is nothing. But the latter point caused an uproar, a real uproar. It even caused the entire New Moon and Stark Group to be in turmoil. What is the Stark Group? Arms Group, a group that has connections with the United States military. The company has the highest profit, and the largest proportion is the arms manufacturing department. With this closure, the market value of the Stark Group will inevitably drop gradually, and this is also the case. The day after the announcement of the closure of the arms department, the Stark Group's stock plummeted 60 points. But Tony didn't care at all. There are so many soldiers and civilians who are caught in the middle of a horrible war every day, and the weapons of mass destruction produced by Stark Industries will cause countless deaths every day. Maybe he can make money from weapons without caring, but after seeing that miserable scene with his own eyes, ask himself, is it really worth it? The answer is no. Closing the department was, in his view, a must. Definitely, it's the next day. After hastily finishing the press conference, Tony immediately found a crumpled note, copied the bank card number on it, and handed it to Xiaojiao. Transfer 50 million to this account. Quote. Pepper is almost 100% obedient to Tony, who just came back from the Middle East. Although he wanted to ask something, but seeing Tony still eating hamburgers, he was ready to withdraw and transfer money. However, before he walked away, Tony took a bite of the hamburger and continued vaguely, by the way, check the owner of this bank card. If it is a beautiful woman, I think I will be very happy. Pepper has only two hee about this. Investigating bank card numbers was an impromptu decision by Tony. If it's done quietly, it shouldn't be discovered by that person, right? Half an hour later, Pepper came to Tony with a stack of documents with a strange expression on his face. Here. Didn't you say that you won't deal with the group's affairs these few days? Tony waved his hand. He was eating steak. The time was too hard. He felt that he needed to rest for a few days to eat and have fun. This is what you asked me to investigate just now. Little Pepper still looks weird. Tony froze for a moment, picked it up curiously, and then saw one photo after another. Rao was stunned because of his super high IQ. What's the situation? Xiaojiao replied. This bank card number is unusual, and the people detected are different every time. These are the people detected just a while ago. Tony was sluggish, because he actually saw him in these photos. Even little Pepper, the driver Happy, was inside. Depend on. Maybe there are no bounty hunters, or maybe everyone is a bounty hunter. Once the news of the closure of the Weapons Research and Development Department was released, some people were happy and others were worried. The happy one was the hostile company, and the worry, naturally, it was Obadiah and other shareholders. Group interests are their interests. Tony's move was basically messing with their lifeblood. But no matter what, the Stark Group is Tony's voice, and they can't force Tony not to change anything. However, there are policies and countermeasures. Obadiah is not a vegetarian either. Half an hour ago. Su Zicheng watched the live news on the TV. It was Tony, who had just been rescued, announcing the closure of the Weapon Research and Development Department. Even though he was prepared and knew the plot, Su Zicheng couldn't help but smack his tongue slightly. An arms company shutting down its Weapon Research and Development Department is equivalent to cutting off its own hands for those who play with guns. Ask yourself, if it was him, he would definitely not be able to give up such a large profit. At most, he would be stricter when the weapons flowed out. This guy Tony looks like an unruly playboy, but he is more ruthless than anyone else. After all, being ruthless to others is not ruthless, but being ruthless to oneself is really ruthless. Anyway, Su Zicheng said that he would not be able to be ruthless in his life. Turn off the TV. Su Zicheng breathed a sigh of relief. Getting ready to take a shower. The phone received a message. There is no specific content, but it probably means that the account is 50 million knives. Tony is awesome, he transferred the money not long after he got home. The bank card that Su Zicheng gave Tony was his own bank card. With the system in place, he is not afraid to investigate at all. Okay. 50 million has finally arrived. Su Zicheng originally thought that he would be very excited. But now I find that, in fact, that is the case. 50 million is just a line of numbers. Su Zicheng is just like entering the Sage mode. Definitely, after opening the system store, he broke his power instantly. The funds column in the system mall. With so many zeros, how many things can you buy? Although 50 million is still too little compared to the tens of trillions of infinite gems, if you only buy some abilities, it is definitely more than enough. Fire ability LV.1, the price is 100,000. It can manipulate flames for a short time. If you use it too much, you will fall into a state of mental exhaustion. After LV.3, you can mobilize air elements to create flames. Water system ability LV.1, the price is 100,000. It can manipulate the water flow for a short time. If you use it too much, you will fall into a state of mental exhaustion. After LV.3, you can mobilize the air element to create water flow. Mind reading, the price is 100,000 yuan. It can read the minds of others, there is no level, and the host can read the minds of the strong ones of that level no matter how strong the host is. Sharingan LV.1, priced at 100,000, insight eyes can see clearly the context, see through all the subtle movements of the opponent, and hypnotic ability eyes use illusion to control opponents. LV.3 evolved into a kaleidoscope. See-through eye, the price is 7 million. It can see through everything. There is no level. The stronger the host, the stronger the see-through eye. Wall penetration, the price is 100,000. Teleportation, price. The things in the system mall are really dazzling. As Su Zicheng watched, his excitement calmed down. Ordinary things are useless to him now. The things that are useful to him are hundreds of thousands of millions at every turn. 50 million seems like a lot, but in fact it can't buy many things at all. It's better to break $1 into 2 and spend it. After a moment of excitement, Su Zicheng calmed down completely. The 50 million has to be carefully considered and used. Instantly move 500 million, direct pass, really can't afford it. Sharingan is also pass. In this world, Sharingan is not yet ranked, unless it is Samsara or Jugoyu Sharingan, it can be ranked in Marvel. The fire and water abilities are only LV.1, and they need to be upgraded, so put them aside for the time being. Wall penetration and clairvoyance should also be passed first. The last is mind reading, 10 million knives. Expensive is expensive, but it is indeed very useful, the first choice. However, before buying something, it is best to improve what you currently have. Ability, expensive essence is not expensive. 100 LV.1 ability owners may be able to kill a LV.2 existence, but what about LV.3? Let alone 100, even if you have 1,000 abilities, as long as it is LV.1, it is useless. Some things cannot be won by quantity. Host, Su Zicheng. Physical fitness, 6, hunter level, D. Ability, absolute hit LV.1 fighting technique. Equipment, white snake bow. Fighting technique is a skill that can be bought once and for all, so it can be put aside, even if there are tens of billions or hundreds of billions of orders in the future, it has nothing to do with it. The one who needs the upgrade the most is absolute hit. Absolute hit is currently LV.1, which still belongs to the boundaries of mortals. Now Marvel can use it in the early stage, but it may be weak in the later stage. Click upgrade now. Absolute hit LV.1 required for upgrade. Su Zicheng scratched his head. It actually cost $1 million to upgrade from LV.1 to LV.2. It seems that he was too young to think that $300,000 would be enough to upgrade. He originally thought that it would cost 100,000 to buy, but it should be several hundred thousand for the upgrade, right? Now it looks like it has doubled tenfold, and the upgrade costs $1 million. It seems that it is correct not to buy the fire ability. Although it is not clear whether every ability upgrade is so exaggerated, it will definitely not be low. However, if 10 million is 10 million, upgrade is a must. Su Zicheng clicked upgrade after a moment of emotion. Absolute hit LV.2 required for upgrade. Yes, multiply by 10 again, and evolve from 1 million to 10 million. What is the concept of absolute hit LV.2? It has been explained above. After Su Zicheng upgraded absolute hit to LV.2, he picked up a pen on the table next to him. Then flick it lightly. The pen shot through the air at an extremely slow speed. It travels about a few centimeters in 1 second. Just like in outer space, slowly shoot towards the target Su Zicheng is aiming at. This is absolute hit LV.2, the supernatural power. As long as the power is emitted by Su Zicheng, no matter the power file size, as long as it is launched, it will hit the target regardless of anything. At this stage, it is not limited to the sight. It's time. Definitely, if the force bearer is fatally hit, it will be interrupted. Looking at the pen in front of him like a snail crawling, Su Zicheng flicked the pen. Pata. Suddenly, without any accident, the pen fell off. This stage is already very awesome. But, not enough. Su Zicheng shook his head. It's just LV.2, it still feels like something is missing. Go ahead and upgrade. It takes 10 million to upgrade from LV.2 to LV.3, which is quite expensive, but he can still afford it. Absolute hit LV.3 required for upgrade. LV.3 to LV.4 need 1 billion. This is no longer tenfold, but a full 100 times. But Su Zicheng didn't know it yet. He was immersed in the mystery of absolute hit LV.3 and couldn't extricate himself. And, even if you saw it, you probably wouldn't be surprised. Because the absolute hit LV.3 is too exaggerated. Who knows what the next level of LV.4 will look like? Is it to the extent that people can imagine? That level is no longer measurable by money. Oh no, even the absolute hit of LV.1 is not measurable by money. It can only be said that the bounty hunter is awesome. LV.3, it's too strong. Su Zicheng let out a foul breath, couldn't help but swear, and the look of shock remained in his eyes. Definitely hit this ability. Each level is another concept. In fact, LV.3 just adds a setting to the concept of LV.2. As long as the power is emitted by Su Zicheng, no matter the power file size, as long as it is launched, it will hit the target regardless of anything. Here comes the key point. When it reaches LV.3, even if the carrying object of force suffers a fatal blow, for example, an arrow, if it receives a fatal blow at LV.2, it will fall directly to the ground. But LV.3 can't, even if it is split into 2 halves, 3 petals, 4 petals, 5 petals. Unless it is directly annihilated, no matter how small it is, it will still launch towards the target. And hit him. Definitely, this has something to do with strength. If it becomes 2 petals, 3 petals, or 4 petals, its power will definitely be weakened. Maybe when it becomes a small one, it will have no attack power. This is also a defect of LV.3 that is not considered a defect. As long as Su Zicheng's strength is strong enough and his skills are good enough, even an element can kill a person. Su Zicheng shook his head emotionally, and then saw the price needed to upgrade to LV.4. 1 billion. Su Zicheng couldn't help clicking his tongue slightly, but the price was within his expectations. If such an ability is traded, let alone a billion, even tens of billions, trillions, will be few, and there must be a lot of people rushing to get it. But don't think that Su Zicheng only needs 1 billion, it's easy or something. The premise of this 1 billion is to complete the task. The difficulty is not generally high, otherwise, with his current strength, wouldn't it be nice to rob him? I believe that the rich in New York are willing to pay billions and tens of billions for their lives. Too bad it doesn't exist. Su Zicheng glanced at his deposit. It costs a total of 11 million knives to upgrade the absolute hit to LV.3, and the current balance is 39 million. He looked at the bow of the white snake in his backpack. White snake bow, 10,000 needed for strengthening. Compared with the absolute hit, the money needed for the strengthening of the white snake bow is simply a drop in the bucket. Su Zicheng tapped 4 times. +1, requires 10,000. +2, requires 50,000. +3, requires 100,000. +4, requires 200,000. +5, requires 500,000. Calculated in this way, strengthening the white snake bow 5 times is not cheap, and it cost a total of 860,000 knives. However, to Su Zicheng's surprise, some changes seemed to have taken place in the bow of the white snake. White snake bow +5, the strengthening reaches +5, the attack and defense increases, and the equipment skills are activated. Equipment skills. Su Zicheng narrowed his eyes. He thought that the strengthening of equipment should be in terms of defense and attack increase, but he didn't expect there to be so-called equipment skills. Click on it to see that the equipment skill of the white snake bow is called the power of condensing arrows. The power of condensing arrows, it can condense white snake arrows out of thin air, and can condense hundreds of arrows every day, refreshing 24 hours a day. Su Zicheng scratched his head. The system saw that a dignified bounty hunter had to buy arrows, so he got this skill for himself. He was slightly disappointed. This skill is useful if it is said to be useful, or if it is useless, it is really not very useful, unless it is what he thought before, giving the white snake bow a whole similarly enchanted arrow. Arrows of ice, arrows of fire, arrows of wind, arrows of poison. As soon as it is pulled apart, the arrows are condensed, and all kinds of lights are lingering on it. Wow, that is really not ordinary cool and stylish. Su Zicheng thought he was dreaming. But it seems that the impetus of fantasy prompted him to search carefully in the system mall, and he really found this kind of bow for him. Elemental bow, the price is 5 million. After strengthening to a certain level, elemental arrows can be condensed out of thin air, with various elemental damage. A full 5 million. This kind of super expensive bow comes with the skill of White Snake Bow +5 just after buying it. After strengthening, it can also condense the bow of various elements, which is not too cool. The corners of Su Zicheng's mouth twitched. Except he really wants to replace the junk White Snake Bow with an elemental bow, but wouldn't the money spent on buying and strengthening the White Snake Bow be wasted? I rely on. It's almost 1 million knives in total, this is really heartbreaking. I just finished strengthening, but when I searched, I found out that there are better bows, which is really difficult. Forget it, just buy it. Su Zicheng gritted his teeth and bought the elemental bow directly. Luxury. Luxury. Not ordinary luxury. Elemental bow, it can gather arrows out of thin air, gather 300 arrows every day, and refresh 24 hours a day. After strengthening reaches a certain level, elemental arrows can be condensed out of thin air, with various elemental damage. Sure enough, it is worthy of a bow with a price of 5 million, and it comes with 300 arrows gathered every day, which is 3 times more than the +5 White Snake Bow. Moreover, the elemental arrows condensed by the elemental bow are used together with the absolute hit LV.3 ability, which can definitely match with unexpected effects, and it is exciting to think about it. Reluctantly soothed Su Zicheng's wounded heart. At this stage, the White Snake Bow can only be said to be barely enough. If you can change to a better bow, you can change it. Anyway, I still have enough money. It's just that the White Snake Bow that was strengthened to +5 just now can only be put aside to eat ashes, and my little heart is aching just thinking about it. In such a short period of time, Su Zicheng spent more than 10 million yuan, leaving only 33.14 million yuan in balance. Su Zicheng looked at himself in the mirror, and felt that the handsome guy in front of him exuded the rancid smell of capitalism all over his body. The stench was unbearable. But I like it. Su Zicheng touched his chin. Continue to tinker in the system mall. There are still more than 30 million yuan that have not been spent. However, in the end, Su Zicheng still had no idea what to buy. You can only focus on improving your physical fitness. His current physique is 6 points, which is good against ordinary people, but if it is a guy like Purple Sweet Potato, his strength may not be much worse than that of an ant. Set a small goal. First increase to 10 times that of ordinary people. In terms of buying physical fitness points, the stronger Su Zicheng's body is, the more expensive the physical fitness points will be. For example, now, it cost 20,000 to buy 1 point before, but now it costs 50,000. Just buying 4 points of physique cost him 740,000 knives, which just wiped off the odds, leaving 33 million. In addition to buying physique points, Su Zicheng also strengthened the elemental bow to +5. The original price of the elemental bow is extremely expensive, and the strengthening is naturally much more expensive than the bow of the White Snake. It only took hundreds of thousands of knives to strengthen the bow of the White Snake to +5, but it took a full 3 million to strengthen the bow of the elements to +5. Really exaggerated. Su Zicheng clicked his tongue and shook his head. But strengthening to +5 level is exaggerated, so the absolute value of 3 million is worth it. Elemental bow +5, it can condense arrows out of thin air, condense 500 ordinary arrows and 50 elemental arrows every day, and refresh every 24 hours. 500 ordinary arrows per day. 50 elemental arrows. Su Zicheng didn't quite understand the specific elements, probably water, fire, wind, and other fancy things. In short, the effect of this elemental arrow plus the absolute hit of LV.3 will definitely be unexpected. This mall shopping cost Su Zicheng a total of 20 million, or USD, which is more than 100 million when converted into soft sister coins. The most exaggerated time spent in this life. However, it is definitely not a loss. Host: Su Zicheng. Physical fitness: 10. Hunter level: D. Ability: absolute hit LV.3. Equipment: Hunter set elemental bow +5 White Snake Bow +5. Although this panel is not gorgeous, it is definitely out of the category of ordinary people. Even in Avengers, it can be called a top-notch powerhouse. It can also be regarded as having the capital to attack the top powerhouses of the entire Marvel world pyramids. Its ability, and it's still a little bit less. But Su Zicheng didn't know what to buy, so he could only throw the 30 million funds aside. Then I decided to go back to school. Although judging from the money and ability he currently has, it doesn't matter whether he goes to school or not. But Su Zicheng thinks that going to school can cultivate one's sentiments, and it is also very good to feel the freshness of the students, lest he become a crazy murderer in the future. Anyway, if you want to go, go, if you don't want to go, don't go. In fact, the main reason is that I have stayed at home for too long, and I have played all the entertainment items that should be played. It is a bit boring to be true. It is better to go to school, so that I will not be bored to death. For Su Zicheng's return, the teachers are naturally happy. It was only after his return that Su Zicheng found out that Tom Holland was beaten up by Peter and expelled from school. In the end, he could only let out a helpless sigh. Tom Holland, you said it's not good to find someone to trouble you with, the little Spider-Man who just gained power and hasn't fully controlled it yet. You're lucky not to blow your head off with one punch. Su Zicheng had a few more peaceful days at school. In the past few days, he also spent several million to purchase several skills and items. Host: Su Zicheng. Physical fitness: 10. Hunter level: D. Ability: Absolute hit LV.3, Psychometry LV.2, Hawkeye LV.2. Equipment: Hunter suit, Elemental bow +5, White snake bow +5, Tracking paper crane ×5. There, tracking paper cranes, Psychic sensing, and Hawkeye. Tracking paper cranes as a consumable item, said to be paper cranes, but it can exist in this world in any form, and it is self-evident for a bounty hunter like Su Zicheng who tracks people's heads, so I bought it at once. 5. Psychometry and Hawkeye are two skills. The introduction of psychic detection is very troublesome, but in the final analysis, it is a seemingly useless perception skill. It is said to be telescopic, but it is not other people who sense it, but he uses his mind to sense it. Probably the use is to feel it carefully after opening it. Su Zicheng can roughly know the degree of danger near where he is, as well as the enemy. Definitely, the telepathy range of LV.1 is 100 meters. Even if the enemy is detected, it is difficult to perceive the equipment on them, which is useless, so Su Zicheng directly raised the telepathy to LV.2. The range of LV.2 is even more terrifying, reaching the level of kilometers, but correspondingly, the farther away, the more blurred the perception. There is also Hawkeye. This Hawkeye is not the Hawkeye in Avengers, but the real Hawkeye, with powerful and terrifying eyesight and a wide field of vision. It has not reached the point where it goes up to the heavens and down to the 9 seclusions, but after reaching LV.2, there will be a qualitative change, and you can even drag your vision to the sky in a small area, looking down on everything from the perspective of God. Hawkeye seems to be in conflict with psychic sensing, but it is not. The places where the two can be used are completely opposite. Hawkeye is more inclined to frontal attack, while psychic sensing is a latent assassination type, and it is also very useful in daily life. It can be turned on at any time, and beware of the surroundings at any time. The slightest movement can be detected quickly, and once there is danger, there will be a very big reaction, which is a little more delicate than Hawkeye, which is the main reason why he bought psychic sensing. Don't ask, I bought this skill because I was afraid of death. If Su Zicheng stepped into the bounty hunter industry, he was destined to provoke countless enemies. Like Tony's mission, if Tony is really killed by him, then there will probably be one more shield on his list of enemies. It was inevitable that his identity would be exposed, and it was also inevitable that he would be targeted. Buying psychic sensing is Su Zicheng's last layer of protection for himself, lest he die without knowing how he died. All in all, for Su Zicheng, whose current weapon is a bow, these two skills are very useful. Tracking paper cranes, 1 requires 50,000, and 5 is 250,000. Hawkeye, it costs 100,000 to buy, and 1 million to upgrade. Psychometry, 10,000 is required to purchase, and 1 million to upgrade. A total of 2.27 million was spent shopping in the mall this time. Su Zicheng only thinks that after getting Hawkeye, it will be more handy to use the absolute hit LV.3 mixed with elemental bow. As long as there is no obstacle, 1,000 meters at a glance is not a dream. It's just that I haven't used it much these days, and I've been hanging around with Peter all day, making Su Zicheng's hands a little itchy. What Su Zicheng didn't know was, Peter has been feeling weird lately. He finds that his spider telepathy is not out of control is random, but his spider telepathy is not. In the past few days, Su Zicheng has made Peter feel more and more dangerous, has reached a peak. As long as he gets close to Su Zicheng, he can feel a horror like an abyss. Constantly urged Peter to leave Su Zicheng. Is it the advantage avoiding nature of organisms? However, in the end, spider telepathy simply did not give him a warning. It seems that it is because he has no resistance to Su Zicheng. In this regard, Peter could only scratch his head mindlessly, hiding his doubts deeply in his heart and not touching them. Peter is a little naive. He doesn't think Su Zicheng will hurt him. In short, in the past few days, little Spider-Man Peter has also witnessed the growth of Su Zicheng's strength, and the span is not usually large. It has been a week since the 50 million was obtained. In this week, apart from the news released by the press conference at that time, Tony unexpectedly did not have any lace news. It's so honest that I can't be more honest. But Su Zicheng understood that after Tony disappeared for a while, he might reappear in the form of Iron Man. During this time, Su Zicheng's hands were really itchy. Having obtained so many abilities, it always feels a little uncomfortable not to use them well. So, he decided, get out, keep making money. Su Zicheng is not the kind of person who will continue to earn after the money is spent. No one thinks too much of money. Especially for a bounty hunter like Su Zicheng, who has advanced to improve his strength, he has no problem saying that money is his life. But it wasn't long before I took a leave of absence last time. It is obviously impossible for Su Zicheng to ask the teacher for leave again. So, Su Zicheng went directly past the teacher this time and found the principal. And said that he would donate a building to the school. Don't look at the use of more than 20 million United States dollars, but in terms of cash, the 50 million United States dollars is still safely stored in the bank card. After Su Zicheng said that he donated buildings to the school and showed his financial resources, the white-bearded principal, who was originally upright, majestic, and unsmiling, suddenly became a people-friendly, little old man. Sure enough, money is everything in a capitalist country. Su Zicheng was slightly emotional. He had already asked for leave just now, and when he asked for leave, the little old man also said that it doesn't matter if he comes or not, he can come and leave whenever he wants, he is very free. Money is not something that is generally useful. Su Zicheng also felt the convenience brought by small money for the first time. Nighttime. Putting on a hunter suit, carrying a simple and handsome elemental bow and a quiver with a few ordinary arrows, Su Zicheng is like a shadow, wandering in the shadows, and quietly came to the last time. The trading place of the underground world. The task of killing Tony and getting Tony's head is still high on the task list. However, it was still the same, no one answered except Su Zicheng last time. After all, Tony is not an ordinary rich man, he has connections with the military, and now this group of people can still exist here to drink and have fun. It is all based on the premise that the military doesn't care about them. The United States is a powerful country after all. If they are really serious about them, a few agents are enough for them to drink a pot. Therefore, no one will touch the taboo of Tony. However, to Su Zicheng's surprise, there is actually a task on the task list that ranks first with Tony's task. Hunting shapeshifting monsters. The bounty is 10 million. Su Zicheng narrowed his eyes slightly. Shapeshifting blame. He suddenly thought of an American drama he had watched. It just so happened that the bounty for this task was quite a lot, which was very in line with Su Zicheng's requirements, so he directly chose to accept this task. However, when he was about to take over the task, something unexpected happened. Brother, are you here? Did Tony kill it? A burly black man who was drinking wine suddenly taunted Su Zicheng. With a sarcastic smile on his face, he raised the glass in his hand to Su Zicheng. As soon as he said this, everyone around him laughed mockingly at the same time. Su Zicheng recognized him. This guy was one of the people who taunted him when he received the task of hunting Tony that day. A dangerous gleam flashed in Su Zicheng's eyes. Brother. The black man didn't realize that he was being watched by Su Zicheng. He casually walked up to Su Zicheng's side, wanting to reach out and hook Su Zicheng's shoulder. Don't overestimate your capabilities. Like Lao Su, I usually only accept a few million tasks. Why are you so ambitious when you come up with tens of millions? The black MLN's muscular right arm accelerated sharply, obviously wanting to teach Su Zicheng, a newcomer who is overconfident, a lesson. Seeing this scene, the others didn't intend to stop them at all, but started booing instead. After all, it is an underground trading place, where fish and dragons are mixed, and fights are common. Next time I have to find a hunter website. It's not a problem to always come to this kind of offline. Su Zicheng sighed softly in his heart, and with a strong left hand, he slapped the black ghost away. Caught off guard, coupled with the powerful force of Su Zicheng, this muscular black man with a saber and gun tied around his feet and waist was instantly slapped flying like a piece of paper, and hit the person behind him with a pong sound on the bar. The wine bottles were smashed, and the excited screams of others made this bar-like underground trading place even more chaotic. The black man felt dizzy and dazed for a while, but the sharp pain of hitting the bar behind him brought him back to his senses in an instant. You court death. A trace of bloodthirsty flashed in his eyes, he roared viciously, and was about to reach out for the knife. It's not bad that underground trading places are chaotic. Fights are common, but there is a rule not to touch. That means no firearms. Everyone consciously abides by it. It's not that the owner of this underground trading place is so intimidating, it's mainly because this place is inherently shady, and the guns are loud, which easily attracts the attention of others. It's okay if you don't call the police, but if you call the police and find guns and other things, everyone will die. The owner of an underground trading place is naturally not afraid of the police if he can set up this kind of place in this kind of place, but he doesn't want to build a famous place with great difficulty and just disappear like this. This is one of them. The second is that even if you don't use firearms, even if you call the police, it is not easy to be investigated. It can only be regarded as an ordinary bar fight, and the police don't bother to care. And apart from not being able to use firearms, there are no extra rules. Even if you kill people here, someone will make arrangements for you. When the rest of the people saw that the black ghost had drawn out a knife, they all became more excited and howled continuously. Definitely, the majority support black man. Get rid of him. Shet, Blackie, kill him, and his blood. Fuck. Most people who are able to do this line of work are a little bit sick, advocating blood and having are all normal. Su Zicheng was a little annoyed by the noise. You should ask the system if there is any website, you can come across any kind of fly when you come to this kind of place. Seeing Su Zicheng standing still, the black ghost, coupled with the tingling sensation behind him, immediately aroused blood in his heart, holding the knife in his right hand, and wanted to attack Su Zicheng immediately. However, Su Zicheng raised his head slightly and glanced at the black ghost. Quickly took out the bow of elements from behind, and took out 3 most common arrows from the quiver. 3 together, string and draw the bow. Rub. 3 white lights flashed. 3 extremely sharp arrows instantly penetrated the black ghost's left hand, right hand and forehead. The incomparably strong force even took the black ghost's body and nailed it to the wall of the bar behind him. Red and white flowed from the black man's forehead. Being nailed to the wall by arrows, his pupils were wide open, as if he didn't understand why he was so fragile until he died. It's a long story. In reality, it just happened in an instant. After shooting those 3 arrows, Su Zicheng walked away calmly, didn't give the black ghost a second look, and didn't care about the uproar caused here. Killing black man seemed to him like a waste of time to even think about it. Moreover, what can be more important than making money? If you have time to take on a few more tasks and earn him 180 million, just ask if you are good. Go to Task Management. The Task Management office is used to know the details of the task and notify the task rewarder. The contact information is here. The person in charge of the Task Management office also saw the scene of Su Zicheng showing off his power just now, and now he is a little afraid to look at him. It's fast to get the mission information. This quest is different from the quest to hunt down Tony. Hunting and killing shapeshifting monsters, the task bounty hunter is famous. Su Zicheng also saw information about hunting shapeshifting monsters from an A4 paper. Location: Beacon Hill, Boston, the United States. Mission description: hunt down a lizard shapeshifting monster in Beacon Hill. The mission description indicated that an ugly human-shaped lizard monster recently appeared in Beacon Mountain. It has great power, extremely fast speed, and its tail can inject neurotoxins into people, which can anesthetize others. In addition to the location and task description, there is also a contact method. Definitely, there is no name, only one contact method. To be honest, if it wasn't for the mission that Su Zicheng took over, I would definitely think that the person who posted the mission was either a fool with a lot of money or cerebral palsy. This word is a fantasy and a false thing in the eyes of many people. However, Su Zicheng is different. After seeing the location of Beacon Hill, he finally confirmed his previous thoughts. It really is that drama. Teen Wolf. There may be a little difference in some details, but in general, it should not be much different. The Marvel world is actually mixed with the werewolf worldview. Su Zicheng narrowed his eyes slightly. I have accepted this task. After finishing speaking, he took the information and left the underground trading place. The person in the task management office opened his mouth, as if he wanted to say something, but in the end he didn't dare to say it. He only dared to mutter in his heart, "Boss, there is no copy of the piece of paper you took away." Of course, Su Zicheng was unaware of this. But even if he knew, he wouldn't react, because he was confident in completing the task. At any rate, people who have watched the show know what the shapeshifting monster is and who made it, and know that this thing looks very strong, but it definitely has no chance of winning against him. If there is no accident, this task can be completed in about half a day, not counting the time to go to Beacon Mountain. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.